Greetings, Bat Family, and welcome to Holy BatCast, brought to you by Real Fans for Real Movies. You can visit our website at holybatcast.com and find us all over social media, Holy BatCast, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. You can also support us on Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/holybatcast. And as always, a big thank you to our patrons. You guys are awesome. You continue to support us out of the kindness of your hearts, and it really does mean a lot. So it is very much appreciated, and I hope you guys know that. We're also part of the Real Fans Podcast Network. You can check out those shows at rf4rm.com. And finally, I'm Andy DeGenova, your Bat host. You can find me on Twitter, X, Threads, Instagram, Letterboxd, all those places. It's just Andy DeGenova. This is our part 2 of our DCEU look back. So last time, we did it sort of chronologically, looking back the last 10 years of the DCEU, but now we're going to share our rankings of all 16 films. And joining me, I have both of my Bat hosts with me. We were there together last time. We're here again together again. We're here again together. Oh my God, it's already late, guys. They're back. And it's so rare that the three of us get together. So it's a special occasion. So first of all, you know him, you love him. It's Jamie Drewley. Hi, Jamie.
Guys, how the hell you been, man? It's been forever since we talked.
Right? Ages. But, you know, we just couldn't help ourselves. We had to finish it. Finish what we started. Just like the DCEU. We started it and we got to finish strong.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That's what I'm going with. Also, you know him, you don't love him as much. It's Brendan Lowe. Hi, Brendan.
Hello. lovely intro as always.
I'm kidding. We love you too.
Oh,
how you been? Welcome back.
Oh, look, I've been great since we last spoke.
Good. I'm glad.
Yeah,
Hope you had an awesome weekend.
Look, it's been hot as hell here in Brisbane and very, very humid. But today it's very, very wet, but still very, very humid. So
terrific.
Yeah. And I'm a couple of days away from hitting the big 4-0, so I'm feeling a bit odd about that.
Oh my God. Exciting. You do anything special?
Got a couple of days off work and just, a couple of things with the families and having a party with some friends here in a couple of weeks. So, yeah.
Well,
it was funny actually going through the invite list. It was just like, I keep feeling like I'm missing all these people, and it's just like, yeah, because they don't live in Australia. They're all in America. That's why it feels like you haven't invited half your friends.
I was going to say, at the party, if Jess wheels in a human-sized cake, let me just say, I'm taking some time off work too. So
looking like a tripod.
Yeah. I might see you there.
Nice.
Fixer, it didn't happen.
Anyway, glad we're all back. We are going to rank the DCEU films, and also we're going to share how the listeners ranked the DCEU films. So it's going to be lots of fun. We love these episodes, but before we get to that fun, got to give a shout out to our first sponsor for today, and that is our friends over at Magic Mind, magicmind.com. It is the handy dandy little natural energy drink that is super easy to take, super convenient, tastes nice, just sweet enough. And you can take it and gives you a little bit of extra energy, a little extra focus, a little extra concentration. And I have found it very useful. So if you want to check out Magic Mind, go to magicmind.com/JanBatCast. I think it's still the January link, JanBatCast, even though I think you'll be hearing this in February. And then the promo code is BatCast20 to get a discount. So again, I've never been into the other energy drinks, but I've been using Magic Mind and I really like it in the mornings. So you can check it out. Go to the website, or you can go to Sprouts, or you can go on Amazon if you just want to sample it. But give Magic Mind a try if that's something that you think will be useful to you in your day-to-day, whether you need that extra little kick in the morning or in the afternoon. Like for me, 3 o'clock, that's when you want to go get another coffee. Instead of that, do the Magic Mind. Probably better for you. It's going to help you out. So again, I have found it very useful for me. So if that's something that appeals to you, check it out. Go to magicmind.com/JanBatCast and use that promo code BatCast20. And thank you to Magic Mind, and thank you to everybody who's tried them. And if you haven't tried them, go ahead and give that a shot, and I think you might enjoy it. But now, without further ado, it's time for the big subject at hand. We're going to continue saying goodbye to the DCEU because now we've seen every movie in the DCEU. We are going to rank all 16 films in the DC Extended Universe. All right, we're going to do it as we usually do. We're just going to round robin, start at 16, work our way up to number 1. And then once we share all our rankings, we are going to share how the listeners voted. So I put it up on the Facebook page, and so many of you shared your rankings. So in advance, I just got to say thank you to everybody who did that, because I love it. I love seeing everybody's takes. I love seeing everybody's rankings, and I had a lot of fun crunching the numbers. So I'm going to share the results of the listener poll at the end. Something to look forward to.
I was going to say, you just loved being in the smoke-filled room with the green translucent visor, cranking the numbers and typing it all on your little adding machine, your abacus, whatever it may be, and just giggling yourself silly the entire time. I know that's exactly what happened.
It really is. I find it very zen. There's something very zen about crunching the numbers, and I really do enjoy it. I don't know what that says about
I'm
me.
not here to
Maybe
judge,
it's weird.
but honestly, I've always found that just a little weird about you, how much you like doing that.
I know. Well, I mean, I'm a producer, and producers have to be like left and right brained. Like, we have to be creatively minded, but we also have to be organized and be able to manage things and budgets and stuff. And so, yeah, it makes sense to me. Like, I love being creative and doing fun things, but there's something that I like about the order of crunching numbers and stats and getting something that's like concrete. And I enjoy it.
I will
think
say,
it's one of
Jamie,
those-
because you've been off social media, you wouldn't have seen some of the results that were coming in. And in the other group chat with the guys from the Fire Risers, TM, there's
Damn
been
it.
some conversations.
Look at you, giving them shout outs, giving them I hope you guys are very happy.
There's been some conversations about there's some surprising movies that are high on people's lists that, yeah, so I'm very curious to see the listener votes, because yeah, some of the lists have left me scratching my head, but hey, menus at restaurants.
Well, agreed, and we will talk about it when it's time.
Yeah.
All right, so it is worth noting that this is the part 2 of our DCEU Post-Mortem. So we already shared some opinions on the films on the last episode, so we're not going to just repeat ourselves on this episode. So if you want the whole picture, you want everything we have to say, you got to listen to the last one and listen to this one, and I think hopefully they will coalesce into one unified whole. That being said, let's get started. We'll start at number 16, and Jamie, I'm going to let you start. What's dead last in your DCEU ranking?
Well, this is going to stun everybody, I know, but my number 16 is The Suicide Squad. Because nobody knows my opinions on that film at this point.
Yeah, that's weird. You have nothing to say? Just go back and listen to the review?
I feel like, I've said something about each of these movies at some point on this show. I mean, I feel like regular listeners to the show, if this is your first episode, I'm sorry, but I did not care for this movie. That's why it's dead ass last. And again, I think I owe it another watch. I feel compelled. I just don't feel compelled to do it anytime in the near future. So eventually I'll watch it, give it another shake, and see what shakes out. And I'll let y'all know what shakes out of that. But for right now, dead ass last, and I hate that movie.
Okay, fair enough. Brendan, what about you? What's dead ass last?
My dead ass last is Justice League 2017. And I know we've talked about it, and there are parts in this movie that I do genuinely like, and I'm, when Henry's of age, I'll probably watch it again. But the reason it's last is because I have the better version. I don't feel the need to watch this again. I'm never going to reach for it just for shits and giggles. So, yeah, it's got to be last for that reason, if nothing else.
Well, see, you keep saying this. Well, there's a better version of it. Well, you know what, Brendan? I like steak. It's wonderful. But I just ate a double Big Mac for dinner, and it's not as good as steak, but damn if I won't eat another double Big Mac sometime in the relatively near future. I'm just saying.
Sometimes.
Yeah, but
You're
see, if
right.
I had a double
Sometimes
Big
you want
Mac,
a couple.
I'd have the shits for 3 days. So see, it's
It's worth
things
it,
react
dude. Trust
differently with
me.
different people.
It's totally worth it. Totally worth it.
Anyway, for dead ass last for me, first of all, I should do the caveat. And again, we mentioned this on the last episode. I at least kind of like every movie on this list.
Yeah.
There's not a single movie on this list that I hate. There's not a single movie on this list that I would like not watch this evening if you guys wanted to hang out and watch one. So I should put that out there. I actually kind of like all of them. Some of them I really like, some of them I freaking love, and some I think are all timers. So, but the worst of the worst is still one that, yeah, I'd watch it, and that is 2017's Justice League. And what more is there to say? We talked about it last time. You all know, everything that surrounded that movie and what a mess of a movie it is. It's sad. And so, yeah, it's just, I don't know when I would revisit it, but I would revisit it if somebody wanted to. But yeah, I mean, for all the reasons that everybody already knows, it's dead ass last. So, number 15 for you, Jamie.
All right, here's my caveat to throw out there since I was the only one that could say I hated at least one of these movies. Everything else is a C or higher for me. So please save all the hate mail. But if you have to send it, I'm at Loey007 on X, Twitter. Anyway, my number 15 is Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn. I'm sorry, Catherine. I love you. I love how much you love this movie, but I cannot quite get to the levels that you are for loving this film, but that's okay. We talked about it last time. I just don't feel like I was quite the target audience for this one. I maybe didn't appreciate it as much as people from other walks of life, and that's okay. Everybody needs content, and I'm super glad, genuinely, truly super glad that this movie exists in the form that it does, and I'm really glad that people out there loved it more than I did. That's cool. But for me, number 15.
All right. What's number 15 for you, Brandon?
My number 15 is Suicide Squad, which I feel bad having it so low, but again, to me, like the same way you do things, Andy, with a lot of times is like if people, if you're looking at your shelf and you've got all these options, like what are you going to reach for? And like the original Suicide Squad, probably not going to reach for it that much. Just because, kind of like how I was saying with Justice League yesterday, it's hard to separate what the final product is to now knowing all the bullshit that went along with it. And look, I will say I don't hate the final product. I still get enjoyment out of this movie. I do like watching all those characters interact together, but I'm just going to reach for other stuff ahead of it.
Yeah.
So, number 15.
Yeah, I get it. My number 15, I'm with Jamie. It's Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn.
And divorce papers are served.
Yeah, so good news, gentlemen. Catherine's going to be single soon. Because after she hears this, I'm out on the street. But
you
hey,
did message in the chat the other day saying that you were looking for a divorce lawyer. So
yeah, because it's her number 1, it's my number 15. So I don't know if this is a hurdle we can get over. I really hope it is.
Irreconcilable differences, my friend.
Allow me to remind you, the two of you have blossomed and flourished in an amazing relationship, and you're both wonderful people with an amazing daughter. And she likes Jason better than she likes Michael, and somehow you
I know
that.
Yep.
So I think we can get through this.
If we were able to get over the Michael Myers versus Jason debate, I think there's still hope. But here's the thing. I really like Birds of Prey. I think it's a really good, fun movie. I like the characters. I like the cast. And I think there are a couple really outstanding action sequences in it. The reason it's so low is just a couple little caveats. I wish they had more readily embraced the superhero comic bookiness of the material. This is one that it feels like it tried to take a couple steps away from being a comic book movie, which is like, no, man, just do it. And then the other thing is it just takes way too long for the Birds of Prey to come together. And that should have happened earlier in the film. And if those two things had happened, I think this probably would have been a lot higher on my list. But as it is, it's a pretty darn good movie that I'm happy to watch. But yeah, just the other 14 I would rather watch.
No, that's fair.
So 14, Jamie.
Suicide Squad. I mentioned on the last episode that this is the one movie in the DC extended universe that has fallen pretty significantly from my initial opinions of it. I don't think it's a terrible movie. I don't even really think it's that bad of a movie. I just don't think it's to the level that my hype or whatever was having me at in 2016, 2017. uh, I still have a soft spot for the movie because of how much my daughter loves seeing Harley Quinn on the screen for the first time. I still think the Batman sequences are amazing. I still think there's more to like than not here. I just as Andy just said, there's 13 other ones I would rather watch in front of this one.
All right, Brendan, what about you? What's 14?
Mine is The Suicide Squad.
All right.
This is, it's one I haven't rewatched that often. I think I maybe have seen it like 4 times total, maybe. Might even be 3. It's fine. I do think in terms of a film, it's, the finished product is a step above what we got from the original Suicide Squad, because we know we got the movie that the director intended. It took a little while for me to get used to sort of the new humor and things like that. And, Peacemaker certainly helped with that as well over time. But yeah, it's good and it's fine. It's just, again, like not one I'm going to reach for as opposed to what comes ahead.
Well, for me, number 14, I'm right there with you, Brendan. It's also The Suicide Squad. And like you said, it's a good movie. It's a good comic book movie, and I do like it. There's just something I don't love about it. I haven't really been able to put my finger on it. It's one
I think
like
it
Jamie.
might be the choice of characters.
They're
Just random. They're not. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you've noticed that I put this lower than Suicide Squad, and I know this is a better movie than Suicide Squad, but I'd rather watch Suicide Squad. And I think it's because of the characters. Really, it's because of the characters. And for some reason, Suicide Squad feels bigger than The Suicide Squad, even though they both cost $1 jillion. So yeah, this is The Suicide Squad. I think it's fun. I think it's entertaining. I do think it's a good comic book movie. And I think I owe it a rewatch too. Like Jamie said, maybe I'll like it more. But I like it fine. It's just one for some reason. And when I saw it, I was like, yeah, I like it, but it just didn't blow my hair back. All right. I'm just going to keep going because my number 13 is Suicide Squad. They're right there next to each other.
Okay.
So, because, and again, it's like, should the Suicide Squad be above Suicide Squad in quality? Absolutely. But I'd rather watch Suicide Squad for what I just said, because the characters, there's something about the scope of it that feels more epic. And I do think, full disclosure, I think there's still residual hype from when it was coming out from that summer. It felt like such a big deal when it was coming out. And there's still a little bit of that hype and excitement kind of baked into the experience of rewatching it. And and it was more connected to the universe, and Batman is in it and Waller is in it. So it just felt like, I think putting myself in the headspace of when it came out, it was just a little more exciting because we were still at the beginning of this universe, and the whole future was laid out before us before everything crumbled. Whereas The Suicide Squad, being a sequel and a reboot at the same time, like it just felt a little more off on its own. So,
and its release, I think we touched on yesterday, its release was, a lot different because of the pandemic and
exactly
straight to streaming and stuff. So,
so they're right next to each other. But I ironically, I'd rather watch the first one than the second. But again, maybe revisiting it, that'll change.
Well, is it okay if I jump in quickly just before Jamie, because my next one is Birds of Prey?
Yeah, go for it.
So Jamie, you'll get to go twice. But yeah, it breaks my heart really that when I look at my list that the 3 Margot Robbie Harleys sort of in the bottom row. And, I love her as Harley. I really do. And to me, that she's going to be the main reason why I pick any of these movies to watch, is to see Margot be Harley. And I do think Birds of Prey is probably her best outing in terms of the character. Aesthetically, it's definitely the first Suicide Squad movie, but yeah, Birds of Prey, she just owns that movie and she's so good in it. And this is one I do need to revisit sooner rather than later. But yeah, they're sort of the bottom of my list, unfortunately.
And that's a great point I didn't think of, but you're right. Like, yeah, the fact that the 3 Margot Robbie Harley outings are at the bottom, but she is one of the best things to come out of the DCEU. So
Yes, yeah.
yeah, it's kind of crazy. All right, well then, Jamie, what's your number 13?
My number 13 is Shazam: Fury of the Gods.
All right.
I again, you're going to hear this a lot from me for the next couple of minutes. I don't think it's a bad movie. I know some people think it's awful or not good or whatever. I don't think it's a bad movie. I think it was a disappointment after how much I liked the first one. But Paul kind of touched on it when we did that episode a couple of weeks ago. Maybe this thing's problem was, if it would have been released 10 or 15 years ago, everybody would have been like, yeah, this is a great comic book movie. But now that we've seen stuff on this scale or higher for so long and so consistently, now it's just kind of like, what's the big deal about this thing? And I also feel like the worst sin that this movie commits is somehow or another, by cutting room floor or not, hedging up the script as much as they should have. I just think a lot of the heart was missing from this that was in the first one. And that, to me, was the strong point of the first one, was how much heart it had. So that's why I have this one here.
All right, that's fair. Well, then just keep going to your number 12, so we'll get back into the regular rotation.
Okay, well, I'll go ahead and do that. And guys, let me just tell you, I'm really proud of myself with this one, because I managed to do something that Warner Brothers and The Rock and other people couldn't seem to do. And that is, I put Black Adam with Shazam, because Black Adam, it's pretty much everything I just said about Shazam: Fury of the Gods applies here. Obviously not the heart statement, but again, it's a movie I think there's more to like than not. I don't think it's a great movie. I think it's fine. I find it entertaining. I think there was some really good, strong points to it, but I also think there was probably a better movie to be had in there. And the choice of leaving Black Adam, off in the world on his own and not putting in anybody like a Shazam and or a Superman in with him was just a huge missed opportunity there.
Yeah. Well, then I'm going to jump in, because my number 12 is also Black Adam.
It's chaos. It's
Brandon, was that also your number 12?
No.
Oh, okay. The way you started laughing,
but it's not far away.
Okay. The way you started laughing, I was like, oh, were you about to do the same? So yeah, my number 12 is also Black Adam. And I like Black Adam. I like that movie. I think it's a lot of fun. It's a big, maybe over the top is the wrong word, but it's like a big, epic, action-packed, fun comic book superhero movie, and that's why I like it. It also brought some other superheroes that I love to the big screen for the first time, namely Dr. Fate and Hawkman.
Dr. Fate, yeah.
Yeah, and I thought that was great. So I had a great time with Black Adam. I liked it way more than I thought I was going to, frankly. It's just nothing exceptional. It doesn't break the mold. It doesn't really do anything super special. It's just a really solid, entertaining comic book movie, and that's okay. You might say it's rock solid.
You might, but you probably wouldn't.
You might. But yeah, so I mean, number 12, it's a fine spot. It's just, yeah, it's good, and it's just, again, doesn't do anything that completely blows you away, but it's a good time, and nothing wrong with that. So anyway, Brendan, what is your number 12?
Okay, so my 12, 11, and 10, I will just sort of give the caveat of, depending on the day, or depending on rewatches, these three could probably interchange, in the blink of an eye. But my number 12 is Wonder Woman 1984. So it's just, I mean, again, we cover, I'm going to say this all the time, but like we covered it, when we recorded the last episode, but it's a big drop in quality, I think, in the first one, not having that supporting cast, or finding a way to bring them back, and not the way that she brought Steve Trevor back, is a mistake. And the movie just sort of suffers a bit because of it. And look, it's still got Gal in there looking amazing, and there are some really good moments in it. It's just, it's a big drop from that first one, and it's a shame that it's not higher, unfortunately.
All right. Okay. Fair enough. That brings us to number 11, Jamie.
My number 11 is The Flash. And as we touched on yesterday a little bit, it's a miracle that any kind of quality came out of this with all the reboots, recycling, rehash, rehiring, and all that, came to be. A lot of pieces that really are good. There's a lot of sequences that are good. I think the heart is amazing. I think most of the humor actually works in it. I love the opening sequence. I love the baby Jenga he's playing coming down the building. I know some people thought that looked bad or was silly.
That
or
was
anything
awesome.
I thought it was a blast. Seeing Batman is a blast. The scene with the mom and all that. All the scenes with his mom were fantastic. But I was a little disappointed in Supergirl. I was a little disappointed that we didn't get more out of Keaton's Batman. That there are issues that I have with the movie, but said and done, it's a good movie. It's an enjoyable movie. It has entertainment value. So I just, I just happen to like 10 other movies in this universe more than I like this one.
All right. Interesting. Brendan, what's your number 11?
Number 11 for me is Shazam! Fury of the Gods. And this honestly, I've only ever seen this once in the cinema. So this is the one I really need to revisit, and that's where it could, move these three around. But look, dropping quality from the first one, which is a shame because I really, really, really like the first one. Yeah, I just need to see it again to sort of cement its place in this list. But at the moment, I'm happy where I've got it and in where it's in between this and the next one to come. But again, it could change based on future viewings.
All right. Well, my number 11 is also Shazam! Fury of the Gods.
Well,
So like Jamie, right next to Black Adam. Look at that. Those two movies should have been connected. Crazy talk. Crazy talk. But yeah, Shazam! Fury of the Gods. We reviewed it recently, or relatively recently. I think it's a good, entertaining movie, just kind of like Black Adam. It's a good, entertaining comic book movie. I think the biggest thing holding it back was it just felt a little generic. I didn't quite have the same complaints as a lot of other folks, but it just felt a little more generic than the first, and I think that was a shame. It was a shame that it was a little bit of a dip from the first. I had a good time. If they hadn't cut some of that heart, like Jamie mentioned, I think it could have and would have been higher. But as it is, I think that the editing got a little bit the best of them. Like, I don't have the issues with the villains that Paul did a couple episodes ago. I liked the villains. I thought they were cool. I liked the creatures. I liked the dragon. So there was a lot to like about it. I just think that, yeah, maybe they bit off just a little more they could chew, and it got them in the end. But I would happily rewatch it, and I still think it's also solid. So leaves us to number 10, Jamie.
Well, get ready to hear the collective groan of social media as a whole, gentlemen. My number 10 is the theatrical Justice League from 2017. I really like this movie. I don't know what to say, guys. Is there a better version of this movie out there? Yes, there is. But that doesn't mean that this one is bad. And as I said the last time around, if it doesn't work for you, or you're too scorned about the situation or any of that, I get it. I'm not saying you have to like this movie as much as I do, but I'll be damned if I'm going to apologize for liking it. I get a kick out of watching it. I still revisit it. Do I watch it as much as I did before we got the more the better movie? No, I don't watch it as much. But I'm not going to tell you I'm not going to watch it anymore because the other one exists and we have access to it now. It's simply not the case. They're different enough. It's like watching two different movies, and this one is half the length, and it requires less involvement and less thought and all that other stuff. And maybe that's your problem with the movie, and that's acceptable. That's fine. But for me, I'm entertained by this film. I like way more of this film than I don't. A couple of the humor moments and stuff like that. And I certainly don't like the circumstances of how it came about. Do not ever mistake my praise for this film as me saying I'm okay with all of that, because I'm not. It was all a shit thing, and it should have never happened, but it did. But to my benefit, because I like both versions, I got two Justice League films.
Two movies.
So, take that for whatever it's worth. But yeah, the theatrical Justice League at number 10.
That's all right. I respect your bravery and your honesty, and I support you.
I appreciate that.
All right, Brendan. I think I know
Says
your
a
number
man
10
who's
is.
not on Twitter anymore.
Well, that's
If you want to talk to me about this movie, I'll talk to you about this movie. I'm at Loey007.
all right, Brendan. What's your number 10?
Make it 3, guys, because I've also got Black Adam right next to Shazam.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have kind of covered it. And I said this yesterday too. This is probably actually this and the next movie are the two that I was the least excited for in all of these movies in terms of looking forward to them coming out. But this one I was pleasantly surprised with. It was an entertaining superhero movie. Nothing groundbreaking. Didn't change the hierarchy or anything like that. But it was just a good. We have a lot. What is it? 2 hours, whatever, at the movies, just watching superheroes be superheroes. So I liked it. And it gave me a James Bond in a DC movie. So it's got that going for it.
Yeah. What's crazy is that I think your 10, 11, and 12, Brendan, are also my 10, 11, and 12, just in a slightly different order.
Okay.
But to your point, I think they're all kind of equal, so I don't really care what order they're in, because my number 10 is Wonder Woman 1984.
There you go.
So, yeah, like I feel like Wonder Woman 1984, Shazam! Fury of the Gods, and Black Adam, I would put them all about equal. I did order them, but I think that, I don't, if you were to put them in any other order, I'd go, yeah, that's fine. Because I think that
same.
anything in between is splitting hairs. But yeah, Wonder Woman 1984 is my number 10. I seem to like it more than a lot of people. It's funny, kind of like with Shazam, I feel like I do have issues with it, but they're a lot different than I think than other people's issues with it. Like, of course I miss the characters from the first film, but also I don't think that's what holds this film back. For me, it was really just the kind of some of the hand wavy story things, where it's kind of like, don't think about that. Where she's like, well, I made a can of soda disappear, so I'm gonna make this plane disappear. And we're like, wait, what? What was that? What was that again? And like, and like, oh yeah, here's this random thing I found and it makes wishes come true. Why? It just does. It just does. So those were the things that like I couldn't quite totally get on board with, but I think that Wonder Woman has never looked better than she does in this movie. I think that the action sequences in this movie are top tier. I think the Wonder Woman action in this movie is great. I think it also has a lot of heart. And I think that there's some amazing sequences in it. And I think that it's a very good sequel to a freaking amazing movie. And so is it a step down from the first? Of course, but I still do really like it. Even though, yeah, there were a couple of those little story things where I was like, oh, I feel like you kind of tried to find some shortcuts there and I noticed. But other than that, I was totally entertained by it. I think there was just enough connective tissue between the first film and the second. Like the opening Themyscira sequence, I think is amazing. The score is great. So there's a lot to like about Wonder Woman 1984. And this is one that, even though I hear people's criticisms, and I don't even think most of them are unfair, for me, the good just so outweighs the bad.
Mm.
So to number 9, Jamie.
Wonder Woman 1984.
Yeah, we're all kind of sort of in the mix together,
Yeah. So, I copy and paste most of what you just said, but I'll also add that I think Cheetah was great. I think Kristen Wiig did a wonderful job in that role. Is there a little bit of the 90s comic book villain cliche of, dopey, nerdy becomes, super awesome and all that stuff? Yeah, I guess, whatever. But, it's just how it works. That's sometimes that's just how things pan out. And I'm not going to eat its lunch over that. I think that's a pretty lame complaint at this point. I don't know what to make of the whole, well, I can do this all of a sudden now. It's like she was discovering her powers as she went along in the first film. So I think along those lines, I feel like it's not stepping out of bounds, but
because it's 40 years removed, I guess. So
yeah. So whatever.
Actually, even longer than that. Sorry, because it was World War One, not World War Two.
Yeah, I mean it's 19.
Yeah, it's like 70 years, right?
Yeah. So yeah, I still really enjoy this film. I think it's pleasing to look at. I think it's visually fun being in the 80s, and a lot of the things that were done. I think the action sequence on the highway was really fun with her powers kind of coming in and out there. uh, I enjoy it. I think Pedro Pascal, I always like him. I think he's great. I'm a fan. I like the guy. So, was his character a little bit different? Sure, but why are we opposed to different in a comic book movie at this point? Try to do something bigger, and I think that's what this movie did. It not necessarily bigger than the first, but I think it tried to be different. I think Patty Jenkins went out of her way to make it different than the first. She didn't want to make the same movie twice. I respect that. The fact that it feels different than a lot of other comic book movies, other than a trope or two here or there, I respect trying to do something different, even if the end result doesn't pan out as good as something else that this director and this team did. So, I get a lot of people don't like it and they're mad at it and they have problems. I can't join in that, because I really don't think this movie is the riddled with holes, crap house thing that a lot of people think it is. I really like this movie.
Yeah. Great. What are we on, number 9, Brendan?
Yeah, so this one I am pretty confident where I've got it. Like, I don't think it would swap out like the previous 3 that I've talked about. It maybe feels a little low, but given what's ahead of it, I am pretty happy with this one, and it's Blue Beetle. It's yeah, I mean, again, and it really, like Black Adam, really entertaining comic book movie, better than Black Adam, overall with the finished result, but it's just yeah, but the most I can say is what comes above it to me is better. So this is where this belongs, as much as I enjoy it and as much as it was better than I thought it was going to be. Yeah, I just really like the ones that are next.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, and I was going to kind of start with a similar caveat, is starting with number 9. These are all movies I really, really like or straight up love. Mm-hmm. So even if my number 9, it seems a little low, like, it's just because I like all of these movies and it's really hard to rank them at a certain point. So my number 9, it might feel low, but don't take it the wrong way. I think it's a great movie. And my number 9 is Shazam.
I thought that's what you were going to say.
Yeah. And I think Shazam is great. I think it's a great movie. I think it's a great superhero movie. It's funny. It's charming. It's sweet. It's entertaining. It's a really good one. There's just 8 more that I think are just a little bit better. So Shazam was a great surprise in 2019. And like we talked about last time, however you feel about the sequel, at least Shazam was very well liked, and we can enjoy that. But again, I like the sequel enough. Ironically, Wonder Woman 1984 only separates Shazam 1 and Shazam 2. So they're closer for me than I would have thought. So I'd be pretty happy with the Shazam double feature of both of them. But Shazam 1, I think it's great. And there we go. Now we're to the... What was that?
I said, awesome.
Okay, sorry.
I'm not going to
our top half. 8 left. So number 8, Jamie.
My number 8 is Blue Beetle. And if you would have told me 6 months ago that, hey, Blue Beetle's going to be in your top 10 DCEU films and the top half of your DCEU list, you were really going to like it. You were going to love the characters. The grandma was going to be great. The uncle was going to be great. Blue Beetle himself was going to be great. It just on and on like that. I'd have just been like, Honky, you crazy. What are you talking about? Get out of here with that. It might be like a number 12 or 13 movie. But no, man, this thing is really freaking good. And, even on a rewatch, I thought to myself, yeah, every opinion I threw out on it, plus or minus on it, I'm sitting steady with it right now, because I think it's a wonderful movie. And I wish more people got on board with it the way that we did. But, the people that did see it did seem to be pretty positive on it. So, yeah, the Blue Beetle's my number 8.
Well, then I'm jumping in again, because Blue Beetle is my number 8.
Hey, how about that, Blue Beetle, brother?
Yeah. Blue Beetle's
I'm only one behind you guys, so we've pretty much got it. We're all seeing it the same way.
Yeah, pretty close. Yeah, like you said, I mean, I I certainly was looking forward to it, but like, you know, like you guys said, it certainly wasn't one that I was counting down the days to. I was intrigued by Blue Beetle, but it wasn't the top of my to watch superhero movies or to make superhero movies, but they made it and it was great. It was a breath of fresh air. I love Blue Beetle. I love the score. Zolo is amazing as Jaime Reyes. The family is great. It's just a really awesome, entertaining, and focused superhero movie with tons of heart. I love it.
I
And
think it
I
was
know that
worthy of moving to the big screen.
absolutely,
All
absolutely.
all but Susan Sarandon. I feel like she was in a TV movie, and everyone else was in a theatrical movie.
Okay. I get it, but I think I said in my review, I appreciated that like she was just straight up evil. Like it was kind of nice for a change where I mean, they humanized the other villain, so they that allowed her to just be a straight up, you know what.
Mustache twirling villain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, Blue Beetle was so great. I love it. I have watched it since it's come home, and I think it's awesome. And it's also a funny observation, as you know, we talked about last year and what a rough year it was for DC, especially when it came to box office. 4 movies, 3 straight up bombs, 1 underperformed. But we got 4 movies, and the irony is 3 of them ended up in my top half. So, box office aside, I was very happy with 3 out of the. I mean, even Fury of the Gods, I still kind of liked, but I mean, yeah, Blue Beetle number 8. The other 2 were in the top half too. I was like, you know what? It was actually a good year for me as a fan. So anyway, yeah, Blue Beetle's my number 8. I think it's great for everybody who didn't give it a chance. Give it a chance. I think you'll enjoy it. What's your number 8, Brendan?
My number 8 is The Flash.
All right.
One that if you told me 12 months ago would be lower than this, like, I mean, yeah, as low as it is, I would have been very shocked because this is right around the time, because it was just after my birthday. We got that first trailer, and man, that hype was there from that first trailer till it was released. And it's in my top half. I really like it. Like I said when we recorded yesterday, having rewatched it in sort of the last 2 weeks or so, and being able to go, you know what, I do actually like this movie, and drown out the noise surrounding it, and just judging it on how I feel about it. Yeah, I do. I wish it had been better. I do, but I still liked the finished product enough for it to, you know, to be in my top half. And yeah, I'm. This is another one. I'm quite comfortable with where I have it. I just wish I could have put it a bit higher.
All right. Well, number 7, Jamie.
Number 7. Sorry, my vision's fading on me here.
That's okay. It's the one that comes. It's right at the top of 8, right below 6.
I want to say terrible things to you right now. My number 7 is Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. I'm not even surprised that I like this movie as much as I did. I dare say I love this movie because, damn, it was a good time. Damn, did it feel like a natural extension of the first one. And damn, do I love the characters and the visuals and the monsters and the you know, some of the humor maybe doesn't work for me 100% of the time, but, you know, I think more of it works than not, or at least, you know, a 50-50 split. And I just, other than some nitpicks like that, which, you know me, I'm not the jokey, happy-go-lucky humor guy in these movies most of the time. So it was such a good time. And I'm really looking forward to watching it again because I had to watch it by nefarious means to get it done by a certain time for a review for a podcast. And I could not get out of the house because I had COVID and I was having all kinds of struggles during the holidays trying to find time to go see it. And I wound up having to pirate the movie. And I know Aquaman hates pirates, so
Oh, the
before
irony.
I hit play,
You're about to see some lights and hear some sirens outside your house.
probably so. But hey, let me go ahead and throw this out there. Before I hit play on this movie on this pirate site, I went on to Apple Movies and clicked the pre-order for $24.99 button. So I bought the movie before I hit play on the pirated site because I was kind of in a pickle and couldn't do much else. So there's that.
I respect
So,
that. I mean, last episode, Brendan, there were a couple movies like that where he's like, I bought a ticket and then watched it at home.
Yeah, Blue Beetle and the Suicide Squad.
So, I didn't want to watch it that way. I would just, Andy was sweating me about getting things done, and I know how it goes.
I'm really mean, guys.
Yeah, he is. He
I
drove me to a life of crime. People, this is what happened.
I'm a terrible influence.
He created a super villain.
You're Jamie's origin story.
I am. I'm his Joker origin story. It's always the one you least suspect.
When he was downloading it, there was just like sad cello music playing.
I said that because this was not a good copy that I watched. I mean, it was.
Yeah, you need to watch a clean version, my friend.
And it still looked really good in the version that I watched, even though the quality was trash. So I'm looking super forward to watching this movie in the 4K HD, or 4K UHD and all that other good stuff, and seeing it the way that I was supposed to see it in the first place. Even if it wasn't on a gigantic screen, it'll still be on a 70-inch 4K TV. So I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, I love this movie. It was a blast, and I'm looking forward to watching it again.
I'm cutting in line again because my number 7 is Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom.
Hey, look at
that. We're mostly in sync here, Jamie. Yeah, I mean, for all the reasons you said, all the reasons we've said on the show, it is a perfect sequel to a great comic book movie that is a great comic book movie on its own terms. It delivered everything I wanted in the sequel. It was fun, it was exciting, it was funny, it was epic, it was grand. There were creatures, there were monsters, there was heart. It was everything I wanted. Like you said, it's not perfect. Couple little nits to pick here and there, but nothing that would really detracted from my enjoyment of the movie. It was a thrill ride of a comic book movie. I had a blast with it. I liked it even more the second time. I can't wait to watch it again on my own beautiful screen at home. Because yeah, this is just a hell of a good time, a fantastic comic book movie. And much like I said, I'm pretty happy with my Shazam double feature. I'm even happier with my Aquaman double feature because Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom for me was 100% satisfying as a sequel to the first. And that leaves you, Brendan. You're number 7.
Number 7 is Shazam.
All right.
Love this movie. It's so much fun. This is one I could put on for Henry in the next, say, maybe year or two and be totally fine with him watching it. It's, it obviously the monsters are a bit scary at points, but he'd be fine. It's just a really good family superhero movie. And I love everyone in it. The kids are great. I like Zach Levi in the role. When they first announced him in the role, I couldn't quite picture it. But in this movie, he's the perfect Shazam. And yeah, I mean, I'd put this on any day of the week and have an absolute blast watching it.
Excellent.
And F his mother.
She's
still the worst villain of the DCEU.
She is. She's terrible. All right, that brings us to number 6, Jamie.
6 is good.
6 is good.
My number 6 is Wonder Woman. Wonderful movie. I love a lot of things about this movie. I love most everything about this movie. But yeah, I mean, what can I say? I mean, we heap praise on top of this thing. Again, maybe a few nitpicks here and there, but it's whatever. I still think probably, and I know everybody loves the No Man's Land sequence and the all of that. I think a stronger climax probably would have elevated this a little bit more. And I maintain to this day, popular opinion or not, which I'm sure it's not, I don't think any sequence ever elevated above what the beach assault did toward the beginning of the film. That was kind of my main issue way back when, and it's still kind of my main issue now. When I watch the movie, I love that sequence so much, and I don't think any other sequence in the film gets over it. I think maybe, if you tack on the Veil sequence with No Man's Land, maybe I'll have it on par with it. But
I do, because they flow into each other. It's just one big scene for me. Yeah.
I mean, you could make an argument either way. So, I mean, again, I would probably put that on equal footing with that opening battle sequence, but I don't think it's better than that. And that for me, that's kind of how it has to be done. you start off and you give us the little taste, give us the appetizer, and then you give us the main course, then you give us a wonderful dessert. That's kind of how I would prefer it be done. So again, it's nitpicky. I get it. It's still a wonderful movie. I love the characters, through and through. I think every character in the movie is great. So the lots of heart. I liked the humor in it. I thought was a really good job. I think the directing is great. I think it's a wonderful looking film, no pun intended. So yeah, I mean, Wonder Woman number 6. I mean, that's for whatever it's worth. My 6, 5, 4 all have the same rankings on them. I just ranked them in this order for reasons that I'll touch on when we get to the other two.
Yep, fair enough. All right, Brendan, I'm not going to cut. What's your number 6?
Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom.
Hey, all right.
Look, I've only seen it once, so I don't know if it could be that, that new movie smell, but I don't think it is, because I mean, I know you guys talked about it in your review, and I absolutely agree. It's the perfect companion to the first movie. It just expands the world. It doesn't. It's not like, I'm not throwing shade here, but it's not like Wonder Woman to Wonder Woman 1984. Like tonally, it's the same, and I'm not in a bad way, because the first Aquaman movie is awesome. It gives you all the characters and you loved, and it's the same creative team. And James Wan doesn't know how to make a bad movie. So they're not side by side on my list, which you'll see, but they're pretty damn close. And I can't. Same with you, Andy. I can't wait to watch this again. Jess didn't get to see it at the cinema with me, so I can't wait to show her. And yeah, it's just a really, really good sequel to a really, really good movie.
Hell yeah.
It's kind of the perfect sequel into a comic book movie. It's what you want. Like, it gives you, it doesn't rehash what you saw, but it gives you more of the same, but different.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when I said, if you look at the sequels James Wan has done, The Conjuring 2, Insidious 2, Aquaman 2, you can say the same thing about all of them, which is they feel like a natural extension of the first film, as if you can just play one into the other and it feels like the same movie, but it's not a rehash. You don't just do the same thing again. It takes you to new places. So it builds on the first film, but all still feels like one long story, and it's seamless. And like you said, that's exactly what you want out of a sequel, is what I loved about the first, but more,
Yeah.
and that's what Aquaman
And
and the Lost
the
Kingdom
Conjuring ones are the perfect analogy, because I love the first one, like love the first one. I really, really, really enjoy the second one. I don't think it's quite as good as the first one, but it's friggin' good. And that's what these two were like.
Yeah. All right, on to my number 6. I am going to do a disclaimer here, because starting with 6 up to 1, I love all these movies. I do. So the way they're ranked is tough, so please don't send me angry emails. Because yes, I love all of these next 6 movies, but I ranked them, for reasons. It wasn't arbitrary, but it was a little tough to rank them, and I did the best I could. And a lot of it came down to, would I rather watch this or this, or would I rather watch this or this, or was it, do I have any nitpicks of this, and do I have any nitpicks of that? And do I have more of this or more of that? It's tough. You got to split hairs. All that is to say, my number 6 is Man of Steel.
Okay.
And I love Man of Steel. I think it's a great superhero movie. I think it's a great Superman movie. I think it's a great Superman origin film. The action is amazing. It started the universe. I have amazing memories of seeing it. It gave us so many facets of Superman in a movie that we had waited forever to finally see. And I love it. And I love Man of Steel. So I have a couple tiny little nitpicks. And I think that when it came down to it, I was like, I love Man of Steel. It's arguably a quote unquote better movie than some of the ones I placed before it, but I'd rather watch the other ones. So that's why it landed at number 6. But no tea, no shade. I think Man of Steel is amazing, and I love it. And just because it's at number 6 doesn't mean I don't love it. So that brings us to number 5. Jamie?
My number 5 is Aquaman. And pretty much everything I just said about Wonder Woman apply here. The only reason I ranked Aquaman over Wonder Woman, much better closing action sequence.
Mm.
I can't argue with that.
I think they both got
Yeah,
heart.
yeah, that's
I think
valid.
they both have really, decent humor throughout, well put together, visually appealing. I think they both achieve a lot on those levels. I just like the closeout of this one a little better than I like Wonder Woman's. Actually, a lot better, to be frank. But that doesn't mean I don't love Wonder Woman. I do love Wonder Woman. I just think Aquaman has one more piece in place that makes me elevate it to one spot higher.
All right, that's fair. I get that. All right, Brendan, what's your number 5?
My number 5, and before we started recording, I was talking to Andy. I was thinking about swapping this movie and the one that's going to come next, and then I'm like, no, I'm going to leave it the way that I have it, and I'll explain more after my next movie. But my number 5 is BVS. Look, I really gave my thoughts about this movie on the previous episode, and I stand by everything that I said. I do think it was a mistake for this movie to be this dark, deconstruction of these characters for their first time on the big screen together. But like I said, when you look at the 3 true Snyder movies as a whole, it's one hell of a story, and this is a really, really good part of it. And I mean, look, the Martha rescue alone is worth my time. It's in terms of Batman entertainment, it's still number 1 for me in terms of any live action Batman ever that we've ever had. And it's, if the movie didn't leave you with such a gut punch, it would probably be a little bit higher, but it does leave you with that big gut punch. I'm comfortable with where I've got it in the scheme of things.
All right. Well, then I'll jump in because my number 5 is also Batman v Superman. And I honestly swapped BVS and Man of Steel back and forth multiple times. I couldn't decide which should be over the other. I think objectively, Man of Steel is probably a better movie, I think. But I'd rather watch Batman v Superman because Batman. So that's why I'm like, well, if I'm just being honest with myself, yeah, like I think Man of Steel is probably the better movie, but I'd rather watch BVS because yes, I still get Superman, but I get Batman, I get Wonder Woman, and I get, bits of the greater DC universe. And I do love Batman v Superman. I love the movie. It's funny when we were doing, the rankings and I threw it out on the Facebook page, some people ranked like BVS versus the Ultimate Cut or Ultimate Edition. Is it Ultimate Edition?
Yeah,
anyway,
Ultimate Edition.
But whatever. I was like, it's assumed we're talking about the Ultimate Edition. Like,
yeah,
that is the movie now. Like it's, so I didn't put him as 2 separate entries. This is the Ultimate Edition is BVS. But yeah, I love the movie. I certainly, much like Man of Steel, I have some tiny nitpicks here and there. Again, I understand why it doesn't work for everyone, and I don't begrudge anyone that opinion. But for me, I loved it. I loved it in the theater in 2016. I love it when I revisit it now. I think it's a great, awesome, bold, ballsy movie, and I really do love it. And so yeah, it's my number 5, and like I said, I'm pretty comfortable with that.
So you didn't even need to jump in.
Oh, I didn't. Anyway. I guess I was next. I'm sorry. Yeah, I guess you're right. Okay, never mind.
Well, let me go ahead and jump in then, because my number 4 is Batman v Superman.
Terrific.
So, I mean, at least it makes for a nice flow of conversation here. I mean, what can you say about this movie that we haven't said ad nauseum for the last 8 years? It sounds crazy to even say 8 years out loud for that. But yeah, I love this movie. It's got a lot of what I like in a superhero film. It certainly has some choices, but the choices are bold, and I think way more of them work than don't. And I love this movie. And the Ultimate Edition takes 3-ish hours to watch, something like that. Whatever, I'll carve out 3 hours for something that quality.
Yeah, same. And I have gone back to it pretty often because I do love it.
And I'll just tack on one more thing since nobody said it, and I always think it needs to be brought up in the context of speaking of this film. Uh, Beautiful Lie is one of the finest pieces of film score ever produced. It is a Hall of Fame piece of music, and I absolutely love it. I think the whole score is great, but that piece really jumps out.
I think maybe this is another episode, but I mean, the opening to BVS is one of my favorite openings to any superhero movie. And a huge part of that is A Beautiful Lie by Hans Zimmer. It's gorgeous. It's amazing. I love that opening sequence. It's terrific. All right. So number 4, Brendan.
My number 4 is Aquaman. And the reason why I was thinking of maybe swapping with BVS is for what precedes next. And how I talked about them making the perfect comic book trilogy for me. I'm like, should I have the three of them together? But yeah, I think I'm more inclined to reach, if I'm just going to watch a movie on its own and not watch the trilogy, I'm probably more inclined to reach for Aquaman as just like a one-off sit down and watch, because it is that sort of, happier, brighter comic book movie rather than the dark deconstruction that leaves you with one of the heroes dead that is BVS. So but I mean, look, the first Aquaman movie is so good. I mean, it's just it's James Wan, man. Like it's so good, and who would have thought that an Aquaman movie would be so damn good? And it gave us a first real under the sea movie, and it did that really really well, and it's just great. It's so rewatchable, and Momoa is a blast in it, and without being a little too Momoa, maybe, that he is in the sequel. But look, there's only one movie separating them, and that makes sense given the fact that we've talked about it being such a follow-on from that first movie. So yeah, original Aquaman for me at number 4.
All right. My number 4 is The Flash. I love The Flash. Like you said, Brendan, like we said on the last episode, I kind of have to just drown out or ignore all of the noise and the fighting and the criticism. I've gotten used to it with DC movies anyway. So all the piling on and the bad press and the flopped and the Ezra Miller of it all of that stuff, I just have to drown out and go, as far as watching and enjoying a movie, where does The Flash sit? For me, it was number 4. I loved it. I do love it. I think it's great. And I love it for all of the comic bookiness of it. I love the characters. I do think Ezra Miller gives an amazing performance as both Barrys. So kudos to Ezra Miller, because they really carry this film and do so much work, and they're so talented. Again, off-screen stuff aside, they're great in it. And it's a great Flash movie. It is Barry's journey. And of course, I love that we get to see Affleck's Batman one more time. And I love that we get to see Jeremy Irons as Alfred one last time. And I love that Michael Keaton returned. And for me, the Michael Keaton return was incredibly satisfying. And they gave us, I said it when I reviewed it, they gave me not just one of the best Batman action sequences on film, they gave me 2 in a Flash movie. Neither topped the Martha rescue, but man, Keaton's Batman in Siberia, and then Affleck and the chase at the beginning, those are just fantastic. But at the end of the day, the reason this ranks so high for me was the emotional journey of Barry Allen. And this happens all the time. And it's the reason the top movies are my top movies is I go for the eye candy. I go for the fun. But if it grabs me by the heart, that is going to elevate it and make it something truly special and truly memorable and something that I truly love. And that's what The Flash was able to do. Of course, I love the Batman-ness of it. Of course I did. I love the DC universe and I love the nerdiness of it. All that was great. But the reason I thought it was a truly great movie was the heart and was the emotion. The grocery store sequence at the end of the film is one of the best and most emotional superhero sequences I've ever seen in a movie. It is heartbreaking and wonderfully acted and wonderfully written and wonderfully directed. And it destroyed me. And in the best possible way. The emotion in that scene rung so true to what it's like to have lost someone and then get the chance to say goodbye. And it could be your mother or your father or your grandma or your grandpa or your brother. It just doesn't matter. Anyone who has ever lost anyone they loved. You watch that scene, and the moment Barry looks at his mom after she had been dead for what, 10 years, 12 years? I don't know how long it had been. And he just starts leaking tears because he can't control it. That's exactly how it would be. And the emotional truth of that sequence is what cemented this as one of the best, one of my favorite DC movies. So, you know what? Again, like, criticize the CG if you want. Again, some of that I think is even fair. Doesn't matter. Like, I accepted it. I understood what they were doing. I understood how it looked. Didn't distract from my enjoyment of the movie. I loved the movie. It worked for me. And the cherry on top was the emotional core of the entire film. So, Flash, number 4.
All right.
Number 3, Jamie.
My number 3 is a movie that gives me everything that I love about a superhero movie and nothing that I don't. Shazam.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
I love this movie. It's got all the goods. All the goods. It's got great action sequences. It's got likable characters. It's got heart out the kazoo. It's got humor that's actually funny and feels organic to the movie. And not one of these things ever usurps any other one of the other things to force itself on and not feel right. Everything comes together in a near perfect, I say near perfect, it's near perfect, in a wonderful bundle of entertainment and joy and funny and heartfelt. It all just works in this movie, and I adore this film. I absolutely love it.
That's great. I love that you love it. Awesome. All right. That's a bit of a surprise, but I'm into it. That's excellent.
I was surprised too, but as I was going down the rankings and looking at them, I'm like, yep. It's staying right where it's at. It's not getting moved out by anything. So.
Yeah, that's great. All right, Brendan, what's your number 3?
My number 3 is Man of Steel. I friggin' love this movie. I have since the first time I saw it, and there was quite a few years there where this was my number 1. It's such a good comic book movie. It's a great Superman movie. I never understood the criticisms of some of Superman's actions in it. Is the final act a little bit long? Maybe.
No,
that's
kind. I want the Snyder cut. I want 45 more minutes of that.
Well, I will just say, much like BVS, there are criticisms of Man of Steel that I understand, and maybe even some that I agree with. The final battle being too long or too much is one I will never agree with, because like Jamie just said, no, hell no. It gives me everything I want in that finale, and I am here for every second of it. I think it's awesome.
I saw this 6 times in the theater. I saw it with you, and every single time after the first, when I knew what was coming, I'd sit forward in my seat and start rubbing my hands like, hell yeah, baby, let's get this done.
I still do.
Yeah, exactly.
We've never seen Superman throwdown in a movie. Not like that.
I took my son, he wasn't in school at the time, so he went to the movies a lot with me when he was younger. This is I think I mentioned it on the last episode. The only movie that he's seen in the theater more times than this was The Avengers, because he saw that in the theater with me like 8 times. But it got done. I think it was probably his second or third time seeing the movie. And it got done and the credits start rolling. And it wasn't a crowded theater because it was like a Friday afternoon at 1 o'clock or so. So, not a lot of people in the theater, but there was like one guy that was down the row from us. Great, big, kind of scary looking dude, right? My son gets up, runs over to that guy, throws his arms up in the air, goes, "That was awesome. And
God
then he came running back to his
bless
seat
him.
and sat down with me. So I mean, that's the kind of joy you can't buy. Okay, that's awesome, and I will remember that until my dying breath.
Like, see, for me, I think it might. Well, I hope it might be an age thing, but to me as a kid, that original Christopher Reeve Superman movie always felt old. To me, like it felt like watching an old movie, and it's good, but you know, it's very much a movie of its time. And please don't take this the wrong way, because I know a lot of people hold that up as it's the perfect comic book movie. Still is after all these years. It's the granddaddy of them all. And look, I love that movie. Don't get me wrong. But man, if I'm going to ever reach for a Superman movie to watch, I'm reaching for Man of Steel. I absolutely love it. Love it, love it, love it. Can't say enough good things about it. It's my Superman movie. And do I hope this next Superman movie we're going to get in a bit over 12 months' time, do I hope it's better than it? I absolutely do, because I want the best every time I go and see one of these movies.
Yeah, why wouldn't somebody want that? I never understand that.
Yeah,
It's like, how
like
long have I loved The Dark Knight? How long has it been my favorite Batman movie and my favorite movie of all time? Do I want Matt Reeves' second Batman movie to be better than The Dark Knight? Hell yes, I do. Do I think it
yeah.
will be? I don't know. I'm going to reserve judgment until I see more. But do I want it to be? Abso-freaking-lutely.
But yeah, to this point, this is my number one Superman movie, and it's going to take a special Superman movie to knock it off that position. So, I really hope Gunn and crew are up to the challenge, because again, I want them to knock it off that top spot, but they're going to have to bring the goods, because Man of Steel is that good.
All right. My number 3 is Zack Snyder's Justice League. Talk about just DC superhero movie heaven. It's long. It's long, but that's okay. It's worth it. It's a journey worth going on. So glad that we finally got it. I'm glad it's 4 hours, because the more we got to see it, the better. I just think it's a great Justice League movie. If you look at my ranking, I think it's the best of the 3 Snyder films. And kind of to your point earlier, Brendan, is the build up from Man of Steel to BVS to Justice League. I think Justice League is an amazing and perfect finale of everything that was set up in Man of Steel and BVS. It's the characters that we love and have wanted to see on screen for our entire lives, mostly in the ways we dreamt of seeing them on screen, and finally all together. It's action packed, it's intricate, it is epic, it is vast, it's exciting. It's a great comic book movie. It's a great movie. And it's one that, like just thinking about it makes me want to pop it in and watch it again. Again, is it perfect? Probably not, but my God, I love it. And I'm just so glad that we ended up getting it. And it was nice to get that redemption for Zack Snyder. And then as fans, like I said in the last episode, I'm glad that we have one Justice League movie that most of us can love. Again, that not everybody can agree on everything, and that's fine. But I was willing to accept the theatrical cut, and then once we got Zach's version, it helped heal so many wounds, because wow, now this is a Justice League movie I can truly love. And yeah, it's awesome and it's badass and I freaking love it. So I want to rewatch it again as soon as possible. So Zack Snyder's Justice League, my number 3.
Can I just quickly say, Jamie, is this your number 2?
Is what my number 2?
Zack Snyder's Justice League?
Why you got to be just jumping in and throwing stuff around, man?
I'm just saying, because it's my number 2. If we wanted the conversation to flow, but I'm just seeing if it's your number 2 as well.
No.
Okay. Well, I'll jump in because it's my number 2. And yeah, cut and paste everything you just said, Andy. I said on yesterday's episode that, after Justice League 2017 and everything that went down with that movie, I had a Justice League shirt that I put into storage because I was kind of embarrassed to wear it. But as soon as this movie came out, man, I dug that thing out, and it's been nearly 3 years, and I still wear it to this day with pride. Because this movie is just so damn good. And I'm the same with you. Like 4 hours, yeah, the runtime, it does hurt the rewatchability a little bit, but I'm gonna put in a 4 hour Justice League movie than I would 3 hours of other movies because this movie deserves it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I truly don't understand, and I'm not going to name and shame, but there is a friend that we all have who I love and respect, and we share a lot in common, who hates this movie, and I just don't get it.
Joe and Eric at the Fire. I'll name names. Joe and Eric at the Fire Rises.
We've never talked about it because I don't care, but I also just don't get it. Like, I don't understand how you can be a fan of comic book movies and not love this film. It's so well thought out. The action is awesome, and
can I jump in for a second and just kind of agree with you? Because I said with Man of Steel and BVS, those were divisive movies. People loved them, people hated them, very little in between. And I love both of them, but for both of those movies, I understand why they didn't work for everyone. But to your point with Zack Snyder's Justice League, when I watched that, I'm like, what's there to hate about this? I can't quite wrap my head around. I can certainly understand criticisms of other movies that I love, but for Zack Snyder's Justice League, aside from, yes, it's long, whatever, but I'm like, what is there to hate? If you're a DC fan, there is so much to freaking love, and I don't get it.
Yeah. And this is the movie that has the one scene in any comic book movie that no matter how many times I watch this movie, I well up. I don't necessarily cry, but I well up every time I watch it. And that's the scene where Barry sees Iris and saves her, and Song to the Siren is playing. And it is just perfect. It is so damn good. And similar I know there's some great action sequences in this movie, but similar with the Martha Rescue and BVS, I'll watch 4 hours of this movie just for that Song to the Siren scene with Barry and Iris. It's just beautiful. And yeah, like, if number one wasn't my number one, this would be my number one. I know that sounds stupid, but it's true. Like, this movie is so damn good.
All right. Great. Fair enough. So what is your number two, Jamie?
My number two was my number one for such a long time that I was convinced that it was going to retire with the DCEU at number one. And then a bunch of people with a hashtag had to go and screw that up. Spoiler. My number two is Man of Steel. Brendan liked to be disrespectful to Superman 78, which I almost came in on him for, but I love Superman 78. I still think it holds up as an all-time great comic book film. I feel like it's timeless, other than maybe a hairstyle or two. I think it's a wonderful film that I will not criticize pretty much in any way, but this is my favorite Superman movie. I love this movie. I saw this movie a lot in theaters. I didn't see it Roman Simmons a lot in theaters. What did he 32 times in the theater?
I thought it was 19, but still something in double digits. It was crazy. I think I saw it 5. But yeah, I mean, we did our part, but Roman was in a league of his own.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I mean, there is so much that I adore about this film. Everything just clicks for me in this film. Like, after my first viewing, I was like, why is there shaky cam stuff going on here? And, if you want to be nitpicky, yeah, you can kind of throw that stuff at it. But, the stuff about the dad in the tornado, I've made my peace with it. I have my own headcanon of why it works. The demise of Zod, you can make whatever case you want to make about that. But, I just want to throw a little bit of shade at the most notorious shade thrown at this movie, in that there was a comic book writer whose name I will not mention that said, Superman would never do that. This is bullshit. I don't know why this happened. This writer went out and created an entirely new character in an entirely new comic, or not new, but another comic book company, just so he could make Superman somebody who could do that kind of shit. Because he didn't have the balls to do it to Superman, or thought that somehow it was going to hurt Superman, even though the character he was writing was clearly Superman in this other universe. So you know what, dude? F you and your hot take about how Superman would never do that, okay? Because you were chicken shit and you just didn't have the nuts to do it. That's all there is to it. Okay, I'm done with that tirade. This movie is fantastic. I adore this movie. I could watch this movie any time of day, any time of week, any time of year, and feel satisfied. And I pretty much have never gotten tired of this movie as many times as I've watched it. And I think it is an all-time great top 5 superhero movie. And it's my favorite Superman movie. And yeah, I'm never going to apologize for how much I love this film.
It's funny, like just you talking about that, and I didn't even think of it when I was talking about it, but honestly, all the parts that caused the, you know, air quotes, drama and division and stuff, like the maybe when Clark's talking to Jonathan, the tornado scene, the Zod scene, and stuff at the end, all of those made perfect sense to me. And the maybe thing makes even more sense now that I'm a father. You know, like the tornado scene makes more sense to me now that I'm a father. But even back then, 10 years ago, or 11 almost, for Man of Steel, like, I got it then. I don't understand how Superman wouldn't do that. It's like, well, kind of would, because given the alternatives that he was facing those times, like, you know, what would have happened if he didn't do those things? We'd all be effed. You know, so I've never understood those criticisms. They've always made perfect sense to me.
If y'all ever want to do a deconstruction episode of why people would say, you know, Superman would never do that, I'll sit down and do a deconstruction episode and tell you Superman has already done that, and in some cases more than once. So yeah, I don't really fly with those arguments either.
Well, we're not here to argue
here's me getting
10-year-old arguments. So
here's me getting all tense about this old argument that I can't believe is still going on, and I'm up here throwing haymakers at some shit with my loud voice and stuff. So yeah, maybe I'm part of the problem. I don't know.
All right, so both of your number 2. So Man of Steel for you, Jamie, and then Zack Snyder's Justice League for you, Brendan. My number 2 is Aquaman.
Okay, Aquaman, that doesn't actually surprise me because I know how much you love it.
I love it.
Honestly, I was expecting it to be number 1, honestly.
Okay. It is one of my favorite superhero movies. James Wan understood the assignment, and he gave me everything I could ever ask for in a superhero movie, in an Aquaman movie, and just in an entertaining action adventure fantasy movie. It hits all the right notes. It covers so much ground and does it deftly. It feels like a true adventure. I also am just a sucker for underwater things. I'm a sucker for the concept of the city of Atlantis, and Aquaman is the first movie to give me a city of Atlantis the way I always dreamt. The characters are great. The design work is great. The action is great. You know, I have almost no nitpicks of Aquaman because for me, it fits the bill. It's exactly what an Aquaman movie should be. And it gave me everything I could have asked for it. James Wan, and James Wan also, we all know he's one of my favorite filmmakers because I speak his language or he speaks mine or whatever. Like
cinematically, Conjuring cameo.
Yeah, cinematically, James Wan and I are in sync, and I love everything the man does. And he gave me an Aquaman movie like I could have only ever dreamt of. And I'm still shocked that we got it. And I'm still shocked that it's as good as it is, but it truly is. And kind of like I said about The Flash or some of these other movies, is all that action, all that window dressing, all those effects, all of that stuff is great. And I love it. And it's amazing. And there's nothing wrong with geeking out about great visuals and great action and great battles. Nothing wrong with that. But It's the quieter, character-based, emotional moments in Aquaman that truly make it special. Just like with The Flash, and just like some of these other movies, those are the moments that truly matter. And Aquaman, for all of its, big, grand, epic craziness, it's not afraid to still take those quieter moments to ground everything else that's going on. They did it in Aquaman Lost Kingdom too, but they did it in Aquaman amazingly. The scene with when he is reunited with his mother, and then when but right before he goes to get the suit, and they talk about what it means to be a hero, that's one of my favorite scenes in a superhero movie. It's beautiful. And then, the end, it's not the same sort of tears I had at The Flash, but I get misty when Atlanta and Tom are reunited. Like, there's a beautiful love story at the core of this movie too. Aquaman is awesome. And for me, top 10 superhero movies. And I love everything about it.
Same.
And that,
not quite as high on my ranking, but every thought that you had there, I pretty much copy and paste.
and I love, especially it happens in sequel, but I love that there was the joke before the movie ever happened. I think before we even saw a trailer, and being like, well, Aquaman better ride a seahorse in this. Yuck, yuck, yuck. Nudge, nudge, nudge. Like Super Friends when he rode a seahorse. Isn't that ridiculous? And James Wan's like, bitches, he's riding a seahorse. Don't you worry. I got this. So when that happens in that final battle and he jumps on that seahorse and you're like, you goddamn right.
My only complaint about the two Aquaman movies, legit, the only thing I would change about either one of them is at least one time in one of them, I needed him to yell outrageous.
Yeah.
But I mean, and I said it, I think, in the review, but what I loved about both of Wan's Aquaman movies, and it's true for some of these other movies too, don't get me wrong, but he embraced the world wholeheartedly without any sort of pretension, without any sort of apologies. He went all in on it, and he said, this is what the world of Aquaman is. And you're going to go for the ride or you're not. And I love that. I love that he just embraced it and went with it and completely, had absolutely no qualms about going all in. And that brings us to number ones. We already know.
Do that. I do have to ask one completely off the rails, off topic question, Andy.
Sure.
Big James Wan fan. I'm a big James Wan fan. I think your fandom of his is probably a little higher than mine, but I do love the man and I love his work. Did you ever see Death Sentence?
Yeah.
We need the sequel to that.
My God.
That's the power uplifting, awesome spectacle that everybody loves about James Wan.
Ooh. That's a great movie, but it's a tough one.
Oh, that's a super tough watch.
Oh, it's a rough watch.
Twice, and man, I had a hard time getting through it both times, and not because it's not a good movie, but because it just does not let up off of your soul.
Oh yeah,
I don't think I've even heard of it.
It's great. It's
arguably the best Punisher film ever made.
Okay, what's it called?
Death Sentence.
Death Sentence.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's essentially James Wan does the Punisher, but unflinching and with zero sense of romance about it.
Okay.
Like, oh, if this is how you're going to get revenge, there is prices that you will have to pay, and it is brutal.
Okay.
But it's great.
Now
it's great. It's just a tough watch.
It makes it a fantastic double feature with the Korean film I Saw the Devil, which is also wonderful but super tough to watch.
And Kevin Bacon's in it?
Yeah.
Okay.
It makes a great triple feature with Weekend at Bernie's too. Just because you need something to lighten up at the end.
I'll have to check it out. Anyway, DC movies.
DC
movies, number 1, Jamie. What about this hashtag?
Something about let us have maybe. Oh gosh, well, I can't remember what it was. I feel like I only saw it like once or twice. So, Zack Snyder's Justice League. I mean, this thing, what an epic masterpiece of a superhero film this is. And, you know, if it didn't work for you, I'm sorry, but wow, did it blow my mind when I watched this thing. I adore this movie. Is there a choice or two that I kind of scratch my head about and we even talked about and everything else? Yeah, there is. But boy, when this thing is on its game, which for, you know, if it's got a 4 hour runtime, then 3 hours and 55 minutes of it, it's on its A game. This son of a bitch is freaking amazing. And I love this movie. Love. When I say love, I don't mean, yeah, I love that, man. That was super cool. No, I love this movie. I want to carry this movie's babies to full term. I love this movie. So yeah, I've said
I'm not saying any pregnancy jokes.
It ain't no joke, man. Pregnancy is amazing.
All right. Here. No argument. Like I said, there's so much to love. It's so good. Awesome. All right, Brendan. I mean, you told us this last time.
Yeah, I mean, in news that will surprise no one, my number one is Wonder Woman. If you told me 10 years ago that, you know, there'd be a Superman and Batman movie and a Justice League movie and all these other movies, and I'm not throwing any shade on Wonder Woman here, don't get me wrong, but if you told me the solo Wonder Woman movie would be my number one out of all those other films, I probably wouldn't have believed you. And then was it June?
Yeah.
2017, I went and saw this movie that just absolutely floored me. And I saw it 3 or 4 more times in the cinema, and I've seen it countless times at home since then. And every single time, I just fall in love with the movie all over again. The love story in it, the action in it, the setting of it, you know, the standout stuff that we all know, like, you know, No Man's Land and Veld and all that sort of stuff. Like, it's just peak comic book movie action, and Gal is outstanding in it. And, you know, again, it's the quieter moments that work as well. Like, you know, her and Steve on the boat, you know, going to London. And I know Jamie loves the scene, you know, after, you know, Veld, where everything sort of calms down and her and Steve have the night together. And my God, that come hither look she gives him is still, but I know Jamie loves the part about, you know, the smile and is it who's going to sing for
Harley,
us?
who will sing for us?
Yeah, like,
oh, that just it's still my favorite scene in the movie. Actually, now that you mention it, yeah,
it's brilliant. And like I said yesterday, and I'll say it again, it's not just my favorite DC movie; it's my favorite comic book movie. That's including all the Batman movies that are out there. This is my number one comic book movie. I absolutely adore it. And, you know, again, do I hope another movie comes along and knocks this off the top spot of my favorite comic book movie of all time? I absolutely do. But again, it's going to take a very special movie to do it. And I hope I witness another movie to this film's level, because it's that damn good. And I absolutely friggin' love it. Love it, love it. Like Jamie, I love it.
You want to go to the Le Mans class with me?
Hey, if there's a way I could get pregnant with Gal Gadot, man, count me in.
Le Mans class. You want to talk about a place I probably already have a restraining order from? That's an inside joke, y'all. Don't even acknowledge that.
Well, that brings me to my number one, and Brendan, Utah, get me two.
I was doing the thing in my head when Jamie was doing his number one. I'm like, hang on, I didn't know. I don't think Andy's done Wonder Woman yet.
Yeah.
Wait a second. Your favorite DCEU movie is You're So Hungry You Could Eat the Ass Out of a Dead Rhino and You Need 2 Meatball Sandwiches?
Yes, give me two.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. I think I missed that one somehow.
Yeah, Wonder Woman. It is a damn near perfect movie. And it's everything that you said. You know, my top three, Zack Snyder's Justice League, Aquaman, and Wonder Woman. Again, I think they are all in my top 10 superhero movies of all time. Wonder Woman is amazing, and it is such a well-balanced film because it has drama and comedy and great characters and great action. And like you said, the quieter character moments are there. It has standout action sequences. No Man's Land became an instant classic the moment it happened in the theater. And watching this movie in the theater was, without sounding like too much, it was like a religious experience. I truly felt like I was transported because of how into this movie I was. It's a perfect origin story for Wonder Woman. It's an amazing adventure with Wonder Woman. She and Steve's relationship is wonderful and sweet and beautiful. And when it ends at the end, it's heartbreaking. It is just a terrific movie, and it fires on all cylinders, and it's perfectly paced. There's just, I have nothing to complain about Wonder Woman. I think it is the best of the best. And because we had waited so long for a Wonder Woman movie, like I said, I got everything I wanted in an Aquaman movie, but I never dreamt of an Aquaman movie. I was like, that'll never happen. But it's shocking it took us as long as it did to get a real Wonder Woman movie. I mean, sure, we had the TV show. Yeah, we had the made for TV Kathy Lee Crosby version. But to get a true cinematic Wonder Woman, we had to wait till 2017 for her to have her own movie. But the wait was worth it because the movie they gave us instantly shot to the upper echelon of superhero movies right there alongside Batman 89, Superman the movie, Iron Man, Spider-Man. With all of those now absolute classic origin movies or first movies of a character, Wonder Woman took her place on that level with this film, and rightfully so. It's a masterpiece. It's wonderful. It's not just a great superhero movie. It's a great movie. And yeah, Wonder Woman, amongst all of these movies that I like or love, Wonder Woman is the best of the best.
I did not know we shared that, so...
Well, you're usually so yammering on about it so much. I'm like, you got it covered. I'm fine.
But it is that good, though.
It is. I agree. So, there you have it. So our number ones, we share Wonder Woman. Jamie's got Zack Snyder's Justice League, and I ain't even mad about it.
Featuring Wonder Woman heavily.
Yeah. Yeah. True. But what did the listeners say? So I put it out there on Facebook to ask for everybody's rankings, and boy, did everybody oblige. And it was so fun. And like we talked about earlier, Brendan even mentioned, it is so interesting the variety of responses that we got. Almost every movie was someone's number one. Almost. I would say out of 16 movies, 12 of them were someone's number one. And I love that. I'm not mad about it at all. Like, to see where, someone had Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom at number one. I was like, good on you. That's great. I love that. I love that you loved it that much. Someone had Wonder Woman 1984 at number one. I'm like, that's awesome. I dig it. Good for you. So, I mean, obviously, of course, patterns emerged, and I think things shook out into a place that I think is actually pretty reasonable. But it was just fun to see. Almost every movie had its fans, and somebody was willing to go to bat for almost every movie. And that even includes, Jamie, the theatrical Justice League.
Somebody had that at number one?
No one had it at number one, but there were some people who had it surprisingly high.
Okay.
That one, I don't think it was ever number one, but I think someone had it like a number 3 or 4 or something like that. So there are even people who are going to bat for that. So, and again, I respect that. I appreciate it.
I like that because I had it at number 10, and I thought, man, people are going to crucify me for having this thing not my bottom 2. So yeah, I love it. Somebody had that.
So every time.
Sorry, I was going to say, it's like what I can't remember if it was Joe or Eric the other day in our chat said. It's almost like they made a variety of movies where there's something for everyone, and they weren't just.
I was just sitting here thinking that. What a celebration of, for lack of something better to call it, a celebration of diversity, that there is that much of a diverse opinion on what was the best thing that they put out. I mean, I think even Marvel probably could have that. There's a lot of people out there that think, Captain America, the Winter Soldier, or Iron Man, or the Avengers, or Black Panther. I mean, there's a lot of variety going on there too. So, credit to that side of the street as well. But you have to love that these movies are at least, even if they don't work for everybody, even if they're not crowd pleasers, if you will, you have to love and respect that there is that much diverse opinion on what was the best thing that was made in a 16 movie universe, or in a whatever Marvel's up to now, 27, 28 movie universe. That's impressive to me in either case.
Yeah.
That means that they're doing something right by just about everybody. And that doesn't mean everything is a great step forward for the cinematic universe as a whole or anything. It just means that they're letting people tell some stories that might appeal to one person more than another, and then vice versa on the next go round. I love that. I truly do.
Yep. I mean, if nothing else, when you look at the 16 films, there is a lot of variety. There's a lot of different tones. There's a lot of different types of characters. It's a very unique and interesting mix of things that made up this universe. And yeah, like, there's something for everyone. For us, we were lucky that we liked pretty much all of it, and then there are folks who obviously liked more than others, but that's okay. At least everybody got something out of this universe for the most part, and that was just fun to see. Again, I had a lot of fun reading everybody's responses. I had a lot of fun crunching the numbers. So do you guys want to hear how it all shook out?
Yeah, I've been looking forward to this for like the last 3 or 4 days.
No, it's time for me to go to bed. Good night.
Okay, bye. I will also say, for the most part, the things landed in a pretty clear spot. There weren't a lot of close calls. So there definitely, again, was a pattern that emerged after which we got so many responses. And again, I love that, because the more you get, the better data you get. So with a couple exceptions, things aren't that close to each other, I guess, let's say, as far as point value. So, dead ass last, number 16, shocking no one. It's Justice League 2017.
Yeah, I thought that'd be a safe bet.
It's a safe bet, and it was by a lot. Nothing was going to move it. That's fine. Nobody's mad about that. Number 15, Shazam! Fury of the Gods.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't feel any compulsive shock there.
Yeah. Number 14, Wonder Woman 1984.
Given the reputation of the film, I'm not surprised. So nothing's shocking me yet.
Yeah. Number 13, Suicide Squad 2016.
Nope, still not surprised somehow.
Yep. 12, Black Adam.
Yeah, nothing's taking me by surprise.
That's fine. Again, yeah, the way it all shakes out, you kind of go, yeah, that makes sense, right? Like, whether you agree or not, you get it. Number 11, Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn.
That's the one I'd been the most curious to see where it landed, because there was more than one person that had it at number 1.
Yeah, Birds of Prey was on the top of a couple lists, and it was at the bottom of a couple lists. So
okay,
once it was all averaged out, 11 out of 16. So yeah, I mean, to Jamie's point in the last episode, it's for you or it's not, and that's okay. Number 10, Blue Beetle.
Okay. That one kind of.
Number 9, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Number 8, so now we're dead ass in the middle. Number 8, The Suicide Squad.
We need to call this episode our dead ass rankings.
The dead ass rankings of the DCEU. So yeah, right down the middle, The Suicide Squad. So,
you're all dead ass wrong about that. Let me just say.
Number 7, The Flash. Which, after the rough summer of people shitting on The Flash, I was kind of happy to see it end up in the top half, especially because I liked it so much. But I was like, oh, that feels nice. At least it feels a little bit of a redemption for The Flash. 7 out of 16. Number 6, Shazam.
It's cool.
Number 5, Aquaman. Number 4, Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice. Number 3, Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Okay. I was expecting that to be number 1. I'm not going to lie.
Well, number 2. Now, here's the thing. The closest race was number 1 and number 2. The whole time they kept flip-flopping back and forth. And after all was said and done, there are only 2 points that separate them.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And for comparison's sake, the gap between number 15 and 16 is 130 points. So
now, when you say points, is that like a single vote? Is that a point?
So the way I do it is people put their rankings, right?
Right. 1
through 16. So what people put as number 1 gets 1 point. What people put as number 16 is 16 points. And then I give, I have a column for every single person who does it. I put in their rankings, and then I sort it from smallest to highest. So the things that were ranked with lower numbers should be at top, and the bigger numbers are at the bottom.
Yeah, all that talk about math just made me go out in the hallway and punch some kid in the mouth and take his lunch money.
All right. Trust me, it all makes sense.
Okay.
That's all you need to know. It makes sense. The point is if one more person voted and put number 2 above number 1, well, 2 more people would have to vote. If 2 more people voted and put 2 over 1, it would switch again, I guess is the point. Anyway, so number 2, Wonder Woman.
Okay.
And that means number 1 was Man of Steel. And so Man of Steel and Wonder Woman, yeah, they were neck and neck the entire time, and they flipped back and forth multiple times. But Man of Steel just eked out the win. And the irony of that, in my opinion, is that it was the reception to Man of Steel that caused them to panic and be like, oh shit, we got to change the plan. We got to bring in Batman. We got to get to Justice League. We got to do this. We got to do this. And 16 movies and 10 years later, Man of Steel, at least based on the sampling, is the best liked movie of all of them.
The top 3 is the exact same. Like, it's my top 3, just in a different order.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you see that ranking again, I'm like, it actually all makes sense. And I feel pretty good about where it all ended up.
Yeah, it's actually not as shocking as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, so it all kind of makes sense.
Suicide Squad.
What was that?
Other than the Suicide Squad.
Obviously. Yeah, obviously. So there you have it. And again, thank you to everybody who participated and sent me their ranking, put it on the Facebook page. I got some privately, and I was nice, and I incorporated it too. So I appreciate all those votes. It was really fun. And I guess what, guys? We have now made the definitive ranking for the DCEU.
Yeah,
it's official.
Can't change it.
Yep,
if a DC show can't be the definitive mark for it, I don't know what can.
So very cool. But that is it. That's the end of the DCEU. 16 movies, quite a ride. And at the end of the day, movies that we can still revisit for many, many years to come, depending on which ones you like more than others. But hopefully you guys had fun hearing how we rank them and where we stack them up against each other. And it was fun for us too. It's fun to see where everything landed. We are going to get to a couple emails because we got to. But before we do that, I got to remind you guys about Manscaped. Because Valentine's Day is coming, y'all. Roses are red, violets are blue. Trim your balls and your date will thank us too. What's up? Valentine's Day is knocking, and Manscaped is the remedy for what the love doctor ordered. His prescription, the all-new Performance Package 5.0 Ultra, designed to elevate your grooming game and shine like the heartthrob you are. So join the 10 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with our exclusive offer. Go to manscaped.com and get 20% off and free shipping with the promo code BATSCAPED. The Performance Package includes a little bit of everything. It includes the lawnmower. It includes the boxers. It includes the ball toner and the deodorant. It's got lots of great stuff in there. So if you want to try a little bit of everything, you can't go wrong with the Performance Package. but you also can order a la carte. Maybe you just need a trimmer. Maybe you just need the face shaver, the handyman. Maybe you just need deodorant. Maybe you need cologne. I don't know what you need, but go to manscaped.com, take a look. Maybe you've got a beard and you need the beard hedger kit. Maybe you need that. I don't know. But go to manscaped.com, do a little shopping, and if you're going to make a purchase, all I ask is that you use that promo code BATSCAPED to get your discount, get your 20% off, save some money, get the free shipping, and then you're going to get some great grooming products that you're going to be very happy with, and you are supporting Holy BatCast in the process. So big thank you to everybody out there who's already done it, but for Valentine's Day, get it for yourself so you can get everything looking as good as it can before Valentine's, or maybe it's a good gift for Valentine's for a loved one in your life. So whatever you need it for, go to Manscaped, make a purchase, and use that promo code BATSCAPED to get your discount. We would love that. So thanks to everybody who's done it, and thank you to Manscaped as always for their support. But now we're going to check in with you fine feathered finks and crack open the Wayne Manor mailbox. It's time again for the Wayne Manor mailbox.
You've got mail.
Darren. What is a letter for me?
Maybe temporary.
She wrote a letter.
You're one hell of a messenger. This is all, Master Wayne.
All right, first email here is from Dave. It says, "Hey, Bat Brethren, I hope you're well. Andy, I wanted to take a moment before I address the main course of this email and thank you for the recent episode, Batman and Mental Health. As a preface, I'm re-listening to your review of Joker. What can I say about that mess? Well, it grates my patience for it's an exploitative approach towards mental health. If I'm correct, mentally ill individuals are 13 times more likely to be a victim of violent crime rather than a perpetrator of one. But standard Hollywood MO is to exploit and profit, and they always portray this community as serial killers and comic book villains, and it's wrong and unfair. The mental health community is now the last segment of society that is fair game for exploitation, marginalization, and discrimination. But hopefully there will be a change in the tide. Bat Bros, I feel passionately about this because I am a person that manages mental illness. I have bipolar depression, anxiety, and a panic disorder. Just so everyone knows, myself and my community are human beings with feelings, hopes, and dreams, and we're stronger than you'd think. We're not Hollywood villains. We're just people who watch the world forget we exist as the word crazy gets thrown around. Words do hurt. Andy, your courage about your life and your sexuality has emboldened me, and so did this episode. Thank you for approaching the topic of mental health with care, compassion, and respect. Much love, my friend. Now on to my dream cast for Batman the Brave and the Bold. So I love my three amigos. All the best, Dave. So here is Dave's fan casting for Brave and the Bold. Okay, Batman, Patrick Wilson, Alfred Pennyworth, Stellan Skarsgård, Dick Grayson, Tom Holland, Barbara Gordon, Kiernan Shipka, Selena Kyle, Zoe Saldana, Vicky Vale, Emily Van Camp, Jim Gordon, Matt Damon, Harvey Bullock, Anthony Anderson, Renee Montoya, America Ferrera, Ra's al Ghul, Benicio del Toro, Talia al Ghul, Ana de Armas, Two-Face, Donald Glover, the Penguin, Josh Brolin, the Riddler, Neil Patrick Harris, Deathstroke, Idris Elba, Killer Croc, Tyler Mane, Clayface, Ving Rhames, Carmine Falcone, Stanley Tucci, Sal Maroni, Joe Manganiello, and Harley Quinn, Florence Pugh or Tysa Farmiga, and the Joker, Jake Gyllenhaal. All right, Dave. Well, thank you for the message. It is a long one, but thank you for sharing your perspective about how you feel about people who have mental health issues and the way it was portrayed in Joker. Obviously not something that you were happy with. And so I appreciate you sharing that perspective. And of course, if anything, I hope that the mental health episode reminds us that we all struggle with mental health sometimes, and it's not abnormal. And it's actually just part of being human. And the more we talk about it, I think the better it is for everyone. And so thank you for helping shine a light on what that means to you and how you feel about it. So thank you.
If I can just piggyback on what he mentioned about that episode, and I've been meaning to bring this up for a week, and it keeps slipping my mind every time we're on here because I didn't want to type it. I actually wanted to say it. You and Rob doing that episode, guys, let me just say out loud for the world to hear right now, that might be one of my favorite episodes of this show ever, and I had absolutely nothing to do with it. I thought it was wonderful. I think both of you did a great job. Both of you offered some wonderful perspective, both professionally and personally. And I really think that was a strong and powerful episode, and I'm really glad you guys did that.
Well, thanks. Thank you. I appreciate it. I was very proud of it too. I wasn't sure how it would go. I had never talked to Rob before, and he was great, and he offered a lot of great insight, and I really enjoyed the conversation. So, I knew going into it, I know that I'm like, I know this is going to be a very different type of episode for the show, but I'm very proud of it, and I'm glad that you appreciated it too, and so did Dave. And for the people who did take the time to listen, I hope that they were able to get something out of it, because that was the goal, and after it was done, I was very happy with it.
As you should be very proud of that. I thought it was fantastic.
Thank you. As for his casting here, I mean, it's quite the list, and I do think that you were planning for a trilogy here. But a lot here that I like. Zoe Saldana as Catwoman, I think, is pretty great, especially since James Gunn's running the universe, and it seems like she might be done over at Marvel. I like Benicio del Toro as Roz. I think was pretty inspired. I'm into that because, again, same sort of thing where, like he was the Collector in Guardians, but like they never really did much with him. So I think it would make sense to bring him over.
I like the two choices for Harley. I wouldn't have thought of those.
Yeah. I've been saying NPH for the Riddler for 10 years now, but I still agree with that. So
and Barbara was a good call too.
Kiernan Shipka, I knew you'd like that.
Yeah,
I knew you'd
I
be
don't know
into
who
that.
that is.
She was Sabrina in the Netflix series.
No, I didn't watch that. I will say Ana de Armas as Talia. Shit. Hang on.
Needs to find his wallet.
Hang on. There it is. Actually, that was my phone. I didn't have a wallet, so you can use my Apple Pay for it. How's that sound?
Perfect. What Jake Gyllenhaal is good Joker. If he would do it, I think he'd be great in that. So yeah, there's a lot of really great choices in here. You obviously put a lot of thought into it, Dave. So thank you for doing the fan casting for us. Because I know that we often will come up with blanks if we don't prepare. But no, I think there was a lot of great choices in here.
Who's going to love this part? Joe.
From The Fire Rises, those guys who hate Zack Snyder's Justice League?
Because we know how much he loves fan casting.
He does love fan casting. All right. Next email here is from Sonia Gregory. It says, "Dear Holy BatCast, I know you guys love anniversaries, and I noticed that the Catwoman movie will be 20 years old this year. So will you do an episode or skip it? Sincerely, Sonia." Thank you for the message, Sonia. It's a great question.
Didn't we do a double date commentary episode for
We
that?
did. That's what I was going to say, is that we did a commentary, me and Jamie, with Catherine and Kimbra, couple years ago. I don't think it wasn't an anniversary. It was just something fun that we thought we would do. So we've already done a commentary for Catwoman, and probably 3 or 4 years ago. So yeah, I don't know if we would do another.
You know what we need to do? And just because of the time of year and everything that's going on with personal lives and stuff, we haven't done a commentary for Mask of the Phantasm's 30th anniversary.
I know. We wanted to in December, and didn't work out. There was too much other things.
Mask of the Phantasm.
What was that?
Are you sure we haven't done a commentary for Mask of the Phantasm?
Pretty sure.
No, we haven't done a commentary.
Pretty sure.
Okay.
So anyway, to answer Sonia's question, I don't know, because we did do the commentary before. So I guess I'll keep it in the back of my head when the summer rolls around if we need something. But my hunch is probably not. But I would recommend going back and finding the commentary when me and Jamie did it with our wives. All right, next message is from Charles. It says, "Hey, I have the 114 episode of Holy BatCast." I don't know. I think that might be a typo. I don't know what that means. But it says, "I wasn't expecting to tear up. Damn, you got me. A couple of years ago, I started to randomly text family and friends with a joke or just saying hi, letting people know that you think about them is powerful stuff." So I maybe he was listening to the mental health one. Sounds like maybe. I just don't know what the 114 thing means. I don't know what that means. Anyway, because I think that we did talk about this. We talked about can Batman beat up Superman? And so Charles says, no, Batman cannot beat Superman. What? But Superman, Kryptonite, Batman can prepare. Okay, we don't have to list all the ways that Superman could break the bat, but since Batman is just a man, let's just start one. Breathing. From a distance, Superman could use his super breath, concentrating on the bat's face. Every time the bat goes for one of his gadgets, Superman could hit his hand with his heat vision. Continue this until Batman is suffocated. But maybe Batman could take an anti-suffocation pill. Ha! Superman knew it was coming, so his super speed, he switched the bat pill with a bat tic tac. So Batman is bat dead in a bat casket in a bat grave in the bat ground. That felt good to get out. By the way, it was all in fun. Long live the bat. Well, thanks, Charles. I'll just say I get it. Like there can be a case made either way, and at the end of the day, it's whoever's writing it, it's whoever they want to win. Anything to share, Brandon? Any thoughts?
No, I'm still putting money on Batman.
We saw the movie Batman 1.
Yeah.
Jamie, anything?
No, I don't have anything to add to that.
Okay. All right. The next message is from Adil. We haven't heard from him in a while. He says, it's been a while. Pardon my tardiness. First of all, my deepest condolences. Wow, I had a hard time with that last time. Condolences. To Andy on the passing of your mother. Grief is a funny thing. You realize how much love you had for a person when they're gone, but you don't have that person to express the love to, so we carry that love with us. May her memory be a blessing. Andy, I've got to congratulate you and Rob for the phenomenal episode about Batman and mental health. It was a very deep and fascinating episode and has helped in recontextualizing the problems that I'm currently facing. I'll be going back to that episode a lot in the future. My problems are far from over, but I'll be like Batman and I won't give up and I'll keep moving forward. On a lighter note, we're a year and a half away from the start of the new DCEU. So how excited are you guys? Personally, I can't wait. I'm concerned about the score for Superman Legacy. John Williams and Hans Zimmer are very tough competition to follow, but I'm sure they'll do well. My resolution this year will be to write more emails to the show this year. You can look forward to it or be annoyed. Either way, happy belated New Year to the Holy BatCast family. Yours truly, Adil. Thank you, Adil. Thank you for the kind words about my mother. And for the mental health episode. I'm really, really glad that you enjoyed it and that it was helpful. That was the point. So that really makes me happy to hear that. As for the Superman Legacy score, that's an interesting point. I think that, that might have been mentioned relatively recently, but yeah, Jamie, what do you feel? Are you worried about the score for Superman Legacy?
I mean, this feels like that topic has come up. I think maybe on the episode with Rob, it came up as well. Am I concerned about it? No. Is there heavy shoes to fill with the absence of two great composers who made two amazing scores for Superman movies? Yeah, I mean, I don't envy who has to pick it up, but at the same time, guys, I'm pretty sure James Gunn is aware of these scores and how great they were and how much they added to both of those films. I think he's got a grip. I think he's gonna bring out a banger for this. I think we're gonna be in good hands. So yeah. I'm not worried about it, but I am definitely curious to see who we're gonna get for it.
I mean, same. That's gonna say a lot. Brendan, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, look, big shoes to fill. I hope it's not a movie full of needle drops like a lot of his movies are, but I think he knows what he's got in terms of what he has to do with Superman. So I'm not expecting it to be. So look, yeah, it's like what I said with your movies before. Like, these things are fantastic. Do I want to see better? Yeah. Like, and with these themes, I don't know if you can do better. I think you can just do different. I don't think it gets any better than those two themes. I think it just gets different. So, yeah, I think we'll be okay.
Well, here's the thing. Hans Zimmer had huge shoes to fill doing Man of Steel. And
I remember the
because
conversations.
yeah, there were conversations about it, and from Hans himself, like trying to follow the John Williams Superman score, which is one of the most recognizable and iconic musical pieces in the history of film. That's a tough act to follow. And Hans Zimmer stepped up to the plate and he hit a home run all his own and somehow created a score just as good as what John Williams did for Superman back in 1978. Much like the movies, you can't make me choose. They're both amazing. And so that is a big challenge for whoever takes it next. I'm very curious as to who that will be, but they are not ignorant to the fact that, yeah, Superman had better have an amazing, iconic score, and you're following two of the very best. And I hope that whoever is up to the task. I just really hope it's not Tyler Bates.
I almost said that just to get a rise out of you.
Like, James Gunn, don't get Tyler Bates.
I think you should get Daft Punk, but I think Daft Punk should score everything since
I mean,
Trump.
that would be cool too.
I remember reading, it was like a random comment section. Well, no, it wasn't. It was on somebody's wall back when the trailer came out, the amazing trailer for Man of Steel that we were just discussing on the last episode. And somebody was like, well, if are they going to use the John Williams music? I mean, who could possibly replace John Williams? And then somebody chimed in and said, the music that's playing in this trailer was the music that was playing at the birth of Jesus Christ. It's not good.
I remember when, we talked again on the last episode, we mentioned that trailer for Man of Steel and the fact that that's when we got to hear that new Superman theme. And we're like, well, holy shit, he did it. So it can be done. All right, next message is from Brian B. It says, hey guys, I hope you're having a great start to 2024 with the release of the super impressive looking Madam Web, which I'm sure will make a couple billion easily. My question is this. Let's say that Batman was owned by a studio, much like Spider-Man with Sony. How would you create a BCU, a Batman Cinematic Universe, if you ran things? Personally, I would start with an already in place Batman, say 35, working with a Bat family of Tim Drake, Batgirl, and a hint of Dick being the first Robin. I'd follow that with a Nightwing solo film and slowly mix in other spin-offs and other characters like Batgirl or the GCPD while still releasing a Bat film every 3 years. Also, instead of having Bats work with the Justice League, he would work with the Outsiders. Thoughts or ideas? Also, during a snowstorm this weekend, I was flipping channels and I finally saw John Carpenter's The Ward, which I had never seen before. And it was as bad as I heard. What is a film from your favorite filmmaker you were severely disappointed in? I would go with this and Tenet for Christopher Nolan. And to be positive, what is a film from said filmmaker that you think is gravely misunderstood? I'd say War of the Worlds from Spielberg and Casino from Martin Scorsese. As always, thanks for your hard work, Brian. Oh my gosh, Brian, that's a lot of questions. Okay, thank you for writing in, Brian.
First of all, while I'm thinking about it, I just want to throw out here that I love War of the Worlds and I freaking really love Casino.
Well, I thought Casino was pretty much well embraced as a classic.
I didn't know people were throwing shade at it, but I just wanted to throw out there, I love that movie.
Yeah, I mean, this kind of implies that maybe it's not appreciated, but I always thought Casino was pretty well regarded. I don't know. War of the Worlds, I think, is relatively well regarded, Anyway, I guess we'll start there. The Ward, yeah, that one made me so sad.
That can't be John Carpenter's last movie. I maintain that. He must do at least one more film because that can't be what
I
he
know.
goes out on.
I know. I so agree. That's definitely one. I'll say I haven't rewatched it in years, but if we're talking John Carpenter, Children of the Damned, I remember being pretty bad.
Village of the Damned?
Yes, Village of the Damned.
So I just watched that for the first time since the theater, like not this past Scarathon, but the year before. And it's not great, but I don't see why it's universally hated.
I haven't seen it for over 20 years, but I just remember I watched it once. I was super disappointed and I haven't gone back to it. So,
yeah, I mean, there are like 25 Carpenter films I'll watch before that one. Not The Ward.
Yeah.
Not The Ward.
Yeah.
actually the Ward, I was thinking to myself, you know what? I watched it one time when it was first released, and I did not like it at all, and I was super disappointed. Maybe it's time for me to give it another chance. And then I went into the Apple Movies library thing, and that freaking thing was like $17.99. I'm like, nope, not happening.
Yeah, same. Like I kind of feel like I should own it just out of loyalty, but yeah, I never have. Brendan, anything to share? Like any movies from a filmmaker you love that were disappointing?
I'm just trying to think. Like, these are the ones that I really need to do homework for. Like my favorite director's Hitchcock, and I think maybe like Torn Curtain might be the movie of his that I've liked least.
You're not alone on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's misunderstood, but I just know the one that people seem to have not seen, or I just don't think gets discussed as much as it should, is Rope.
Rope is incredible.
Rope is one of my favorites. Yeah, I love it.
But in terms of the layout for a Batman animated universe, I
not animated. He's saying.
Sorry, I'm sorry. It wasn't. I don't know why I said animated then. Sorry.
Yeah.
I pretty much just cut and paste what he said. I was agreeing with everything. Like, you'd start with Batman, introduce some of the Bat family, do your spin-offs. I love the idea of GCPD drama. I don't know if you need the outsiders, though, to be honest. I think you just stick with the Bat family. I think there's enough there that can be done without needing to go, without spreading the net too wide, to be honest.
Yeah.
And as for Madam Web, like, posted a thing in Real Fans the other day. I know nothing about this movie, and I heard it be talked about. Was it in the Real Fans group, or I was on a podcast or something? I can't remember. And I was just like, this movie sounds terrible. And then I looked it up on IMDb and saw the cast and was like, damn, you know what? I don't know if I'll see it at the movies, but I reckon I'll definitely watch it. It's got a if you want to have a, however long the movie is and just have a pretty decent perv, I'm down with this film, man.
A pretty decent perv? Did you just use perv as a verb?
Yeah, you can have a perv.
Okay, great.
That's common talk over here.
Have a perv? No, I've never heard it put that way.
It must be an Australian thing then.
Oh my god. I'll agree with you about the Batman cinematic universe. For the most part, Brian's plan here is essentially what I would do. Same thing. Establish Batman, the Bat family, the Rogues Gallery, and then start spinning them off accordingly. Like you said, outsiders, I don't necessarily need that because there's enough content with just Batman, Gotham, the Bat family,
and the Rogues Gallery.
There's so much there, Yeah, I would have Batman movies. I would have Nightwing movies. I'd have Batgirl movies. I would have Gotham City Sirens that we were promised that never happened, and I would definitely start spinning them off and bringing them back together. I think that, I would love that. I'd be all for it.
To be perfectly honest, I'd almost prefer that at this point.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Jamie, anything to add on that?
The Batman cinematic thing, I can't really contribute anything that you guys haven't already said as good or better than I could have, so I'll just copy and paste on everybody's. Madam Web, guys, let me tell you, I went and saw Morbius as a spite watch because I got tired of everybody hating a movie that they couldn't possibly have seen yet. But Dakota Johnson is enough to keep me from doing that with Madam Web. I can't stand her. There was something else I was going to
Sydney Sweeney and Emma Roberts, though. That's almost enough for me to buy a ticket.
I could take or leave either one of them because whatever. But Dakota Johnson, no, I'm out. What was there was another topic here.
Movies.
Misunderstood and disappointing movies.
Yeah.
Misunderstood from favorite filmmaker? Was that the thing?
Yeah.
Or just filmmakers you love.
I guess Dark Knight Rises, because I don't know what else to throw there. Maybe Tenet, because I actually really like Tenet a lot, but I don't seem to be in the majority there. Disappointment. This is gonna get a lot. Remember, all hate mail goes to @Loey007.
I still can't believe you haven't seen the whole thing.
I can't even bring myself to watch the second half. I dislike the first half so much. Oppenheimer. Guys, I don't know. I don't know. Eventually, I have to watch the second half, but I really don't want to do it.
I found the second half really interesting.
That's what everybody
Yeah.
keeps saying.
Yeah.
And Robert
I'm-
Downey Jr. steals the second half of that movie, in my opinion. He's brilliant in it.
I'm just telling you, it all comes together. It rewards your patience.
My patience is pretty much used up, so I don't know how much more I'm going to get.
That's true.
Fair enough. All right. Next email is from someone named Eric Carter.
Who?
Yeah, I don't know.
Isn't he one of the Backstreet Boys?
That's who it is. Yep.
You can tell it's 11 o'clock at night because that was really funny to me.
All right, so here's what Eric says. He says, "Hey, gentlemen, it's been a while, so apologies. But with the DCEU coming to an end and the DCU on the horizon, I figured it was a good time to gauge your pulse on the upcoming universe. My question is, what is the best way for James Gunn to approach a new connected universe while setting itself apart from not only the DCEU, but also the MCU? Any connected universe has to have balance, whether it be tone or structure. So if you were given the reins, how would you build this new era based on the failures and successes of the past? Or would you even consider any of those successes and failures? Also, just to piss off Joe Fornerado, who would you pick to don the cape and cowl for Batman and Robin in The Brave and the Bold? Thanks, guys. Keep up the great work. Keep the bat signal lit and pointed skyward. Your bat brother, Eric Carter." Thanks, Eric. Eric Carter, of course, from The Fire Rises.
TM.
So the first question feels like it could be an episode unto itself of like, how would you approach the new universe and what would you learn from past successes and failures, both from the DCEU and the MCU?
I have a pretty quick answer to that.
Great, do it.
Set it apart by not using the same damn characters over and over again, and set yourself apart from all the other, mistakes or whatever else, other universes. Just do things a little bit differently. Take some approaches that nobody's taken yet, but still stay true to the characters at their core.
All right, I'm down with that.
Stay with it.
I wouldn't be in a rush to connect them, to be honest. What you guys were saying in the second to last episode, was, about how these movies being so intertwined now and all these other things like TV shows and from what James Gunn has said in this case, animated projects and video games and things like that, like maybe just pump the brakes a little bit because, I don't want a new universe to start and it already feel like homework for people. Make a great Superman movie, make a great Batman movie, do a Batman, have like a Gotham universe rather than a fully wide DC thing. Make, one or two really good Superman movies. And if they work, then start bringing them together. Because if it doesn't work from the get-go, it's DOA. And that we can't have that happen again with the DC universe. Because if that happens, we're not going to get a third bite at it. We're just not. So yeah, I just take your time with it and don't rush to bring them all together in a Justice League or whatever else. Just make really good movies, and if the audience responds, then over time bring them together in like a world's finest, and then build out from there.
I've said it in the past, and I do think it's going to be the trick is I wouldn't go as far as what you're saying, Brendan, because they have to be a little connected. They can't be completely connected because I think that is where you get tripped up. So it's like there needs to be a balance of each thing needs to be standalone enough that you can't count on people having watched everything before and being committed to everything that's released. They have to still stand on their own, but you can still have fun with a little Easter egg or a little nod or a little setup, but that cannot become the focus of the film. So It's the balance of standalone versus connected. That's going to be key. It's tricky. It's easier said than done, but I'm sure they're aware of it. To Eric's question about learning from the past, I honestly think the absolute best approach is don't try to replicate what the MCU did and don't try to take notes about what failed on the DCEU and go, well, we can't do that. We can't do that. We should do this. We can't do that, because then you are already setting yourself up to failure, because you're trying to almost make a formula of what works and what doesn't. I think the best thing they could possibly do is try to drown all that out, push it all to the side and go, what do we want our universe to do? We have a blank page. We get to start from scratch. I'm not worried about the DCU. I'm not worried about the MCU. What do we want it to be? What do we think as fans would be the best thing? And just do that. Because if you're just trying to incorporate learnings from other people, it feels like it taints the creative process of just trying to create whatever story you're trying to tell.
Mm. It just concerns me that, almost 12 months ago to the day, they came out and announced a slate. And how many slates did we have announced in the DCEU?
Yeah.
And it didn't happen. And if, like I said, if this Superman movie doesn't work, what's going to happen? Is it going to be, well, we reboot again? Is it they're just going to keep trying, like just charge ahead and keep trying and stick to the plan? I don't know. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I'm excited for it, but I'm also really nervous about it.
Yeah, no, and I think that's totally fair, especially based on the last 10 years that we've lived through.
Because like I said, I don't think we get a third crack at it. Or if we do, it's not going to be for a long time.
Yeah. And then do you guys have any fan casts for a new Batman and Robin? Personally, I don't, which is crazy because usually I at least have someone in mind, but I don't right now. Brendan?
Do.
Oh, Jamie, you do?
I do, in fact. Eric Carter is Batman, and Joe Fornerato is going to be Robin. And Joe's going to have the no tights, just the shorts and the pointy shoes and the cape and the domino mask, because he's dead sexy like that.
I think you need to swap it because Eric's got such a hard on for Damian Wayne.
And I'll be honest, I met Eric. He's a little man. He's about the height of Damian Wayne.
Well, this is why it's going to work, because Joe would be a fantastic.
I'm not particularly tall, but standing next to Eric Carter, I looked like Jamie Drewley.
I'm boring. Like, I hear fan casting and go, yeah, it sounds like a good idea. Like, I don't really have any original thoughts. Like, everyone at the moment with Alan Richardson being the fan cast for Batman and having just finished watching Reacher season 2, I ain't mad about that. And then the guy before is like Patrick Wilson. It's like, hell, I could see that too. Like, I don't really have any original ideas. I'm just like, I hear those things. It's like, yeah, I wouldn't be mad at it.
Yeah, I mean,
I think Henry Cavill should be Batman.
I think that would be amazing. I feel like we said that a while back.
That was ages ago, yeah.
Yeah, we all laughed our ass. Actually, I think that came from an email. I don't think we even thought of it, but someone emailed with that and going, hey, this would be amazing. And I'm like, actually, that would be. I'm all for it. So, yes, Henry Cavill as Batman would be amazing. It would break the internet. People wouldn't know what to do with themselves. I would love it.
Yes.
The only other option I thought of, and I had said it previously, is Richard Madden. Obviously, his Marvel character ain't going anywhere. I think he looks like Batman. I think he'd be great. But yeah, I haven't given much thought to anyone else, especially for like Damian. Like, I don't even know where to start looking for 14-year-old actors. I don't know.
I know for years I wanted that kid from Looper to be Damian because he was perfect for it, but I think he's aged out of it now.
Just not Finn Wolfhard.
No.
There are other young actors in Hollywood other than Finn Wolfhard.
All right, Gabe Matarazzo then.
All right, next email is from our old pal Chris, the Objective Geek.
Uh-oh, here we go.
This has got to be the last email of the night because my brain power, because it's going to just drain me.
It's a short one. So, maybe it's not so bad. It says, hey, Holy BatCast crew, Happy New Year. I hope that 2024 brings nothing but great things. See, it starts very nice. He says, I recently received my McFarlane Batman and Robin action figure set, and the Poison Ivy figure is great. It reminds me that Uma Thurman was perfectly cast as Poison Ivy, which got me thinking, in your opinion, which casting in a DC film was the most wasted potential? Chris. Thanks, Chris. Nice and short and sweet. So is there any casting in a DC film that you thought was wasted potential?
Jenna Malone.
Yeah, that's fair. She would have been a perfect Barbara Gordon. So perfect.
I can't think of one off the top of my head. Like, I know there's got to be some. I mean, was it Journey Smollett Bell from Birds of Prey as
Yeah.
Black Canary?
Yeah.
Would have liked to have seen more of her.
No, she's getting a Max series, remember?
Yeah, right.
No, I was gonna say, and maybe it's an easy answer, but I said every villain in the Schumacher films, all of those are very good actors and incredibly well cast, but the performances they gave, I don't think were they were not nearly what they could have or should have been for those
That's a
characters.
good call. That's a very good call, actually. And I know you mean
'Cause,
that
yeah,
seriously, yeah.
on paper, all of them could have and should have been great, but those weren't the movies they were making. But more recently, yeah, I nothing springs to mind more recently. I'm sure there's something, but yeah. All right, but it was a good question, Chris, and food for thought. All right. We do have one more. This one is from Gabe Nakamura. It says, "Hey, Holy BatCast crew, I hope you're doing well. Andy, you've been in my thoughts this year. I'm so sorry to hear about your parents. The episode that you did with Rob Orff was fantastic, and it made me really emotional. I lost my mom a month before The Dark Knight Rises came out, and I don't think I realized how badly I needed that movie at that time. There was something about seeing my childhood hero climb out of a pit against all odds that inspired me and still does. The question I have is, can you think of any DC shows or movie that comfort you in grief? Feel free to name something that's not DC if that's easier. Gabe." Thank you, Gabe. Thank you for the message. And I'm so glad that you also enjoyed the mental health episode. I really do appreciate that. And nice to hear that the Dark Knight Rises was inspiring to you when you needed it the most. I think that's awesome. So anything from a DC movie or otherwise that inspires you or comforts you when you need it, Jamie?
DC, I'm going to have to think about it for a minute, but right now I'm kind of leaning toward Man of Steel because I always feel better about life and the world after I watch that movie. So I think I'll go with that for my answer for the DC. But for non DC, my God, I've got a list as long as both my legs and both my arms tied together in a row. You know, off the top of my head, the Maverick, the movie with Mel Gibson and Jodie Foster and James Garner.
Such a good movie.
I find that to be an absolutely comfort food, charming, heartwarming, wonderful, good time that I'm always happy to watch. Right now I'm going through a bit of a rough patch, so I'm watching Seinfeld. I've gone through like 12 episodes in the last 2 days, and that's always a comforting thing for me. It just kind of makes me feel at ease. It centers me. I've got tons of them. Things that just, I'll scroll through my library and I'd be like, oh, I haven't seen this for a while, and it always makes me feel warm and fuzzy. So I'll do it. So I've got a bunch like that.
Yeah. Brendan?
DC. I mean, if I want a warm hug from DC, like I'm probably going to go for Wonder Woman, to be perfectly honest, or something like a Batman Begins.
Didn't Cal give you a restraining order already,
though? No, but just a movie that makes me happy, and a movie that I really enjoy watching. So yeah, like a Wonder Woman, a Batman Begins, something like those two. Non-DC, probably Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters Afterlife as a 1-2. They're like a feel-good, warm hug thing for me. Batman the Animated Series, TV, stuff like Friends, The Golden Girls, things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. For DC, like if I just want something that's comforting, I would go with Batman 89. Not because of the content of the movie, just because that movie is a comfort movie for me.
Yeah.
It makes me feel better and it takes me back. Like I said, Batman Begins, I think would also serve a similar purpose. Wonder Woman could do the same. More recently, even though it was number 7 on my list, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, the conversation between Arthur and his father really resonated with me. And I found it even in the past month really helpful, as I've, was on a rough day, like think of that conversation of you celebrate the wins and you mourn the losses and you keep going and you do it again the next day. And the most heroic thing you can do is to not give up. And like that really struck a chord with me. And I loved that moment in that movie. So even as recently as that, it's only a month old, but I thought that was a wonderful sentiment and I found that inspiring. And then, yeah, outside of DC, E.T. is one that I go to a lot when I need comfort and a good cry. Lord of the Rings does the same for me. You know, we've talked about that on Real Fans, but that's another one where I like getting swept up in it, but also the emotional core of those movies really resonates and works for me. So yeah, quite a bit.
No Jurassic Park.
Well, again, that's more of just like a comfort movie to put on and like just enjoy, as opposed to like one that, yeah, you know, like obviously if you listen to Disorder, Treasure Planet, or Meet the Robinsons, those two as well, you know, if I'm feeling low, those really help. So, all right, well, we're closing the mailbox, and guys, you're not gonna believe this, we're caught up.
Wow.
Whew. Thank you to everybody for their patience, because it's taken a minute to get back to these, but I told you we would, and I appreciate us being able to do it, and I appreciate you guys for staying up to do it. So if you do have something for the Wayne Manor mailbox for the future, you can send that to Holy BatCast at rf4rm.com. But that is where we're going to wrap up this episode and our goodbye to the DCEU, even though it will live on forever in our hearts. So, Jamie, thank you for staying up late. I know it's hardest for you. So appreciate you being here.
I'm so tired. Oh. I drank a Red Bull at 4:00, and boy, by 7:15, my gas tank was empty again. I suppose you want to know where you can find me.
Sure.
I'm unfindable.
That's fine.
And except on Facebook groups for Real Fans, and except on this podcast and a couple of others in the network. Other than that, I'm unfindable.
All right, that's great. Brendan, thank you as well.
No worries.
Glad
I'm not
we can
tired.
all be together.
I'm not tired. I'm just starving. This is like way past lunchtime. Yeah, you can find me in the usual spots, like, you know, Real Fans groups on Facebook. Very rarely on X these days, but, you know, I'm still logging stuff on Letterboxd. Probably not in the same detail that some people do, but I'm definitely on there.
Yeah. All right. I already told you guys where to follow me, but thank you as always for joining us. Thanks for downloading or streaming the show. Please do subscribe or follow the show wherever you get your podcasts. We would appreciate that. And if you like the podcast, something else you can do to support us that doesn't cost a penny, just rate and review us. A nice review goes a long way, and that would really mean the world. So just to take a minute out of your day, leave a nice review, and that would be awesome. Lots of places you can find us. You can find us at holybatcast.com or Holy BatCast on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, or YouTube. You can send anything you need, questions, thoughts, comments, whatever. Send those to the Wayne Manor mailbox at holybatcast at rf4rm.com. Our theme music was created by the talented Gaurav Venkateswar. You can find his work at gvtunes.com. And don't forget to check out our sponsors. Go to manscaped.com, and if you're going to buy something, use the promo code BATSCAPED for 20% off and free shipping. Or if you're interested in Magic Mind, go to magicmind.com/JanBatcast. Would love that. But that will do it for this episode. On behalf of Jamie and Brendan, I've been Andy. We'll see you next time. Same bat time, same bat channel. Holy BatCast is not affiliated with Warner Brothers or DC Entertainment. The views and opinions shared by the participants are theirs and theirs alone, and do not represent the companies or organizations they happen to work for.
What kind of a backwards third world country eats lunch at 11:23 p.m.?
It's 2:23 over here.
And Brendan doesn't have a lot to live off of. He could die. if he misses a meal, that could be it.
From now on, Australia shall be referred to exclusively as Bizarro World.